So I've come across a new kind of like bridge to cross kind of in my life. Like,
All right.
so I want to paint this picture for you. I like sour cream chips, like sour cream and onion,
Okay.
or sour cream and cheddar. I like those too. I might prefer the sour cream and cheddar, honestly.
Yeah, I'm probably there with you.
Okay. So I like a lot of like sauces and dips that also use sour cream,
Fair.
but I've never had sour cream by itself.
Really? Mm-hmm. So let me stop you there.
Yeah, please.
I think people that have sour cream by itself are fucking maniacs.
Well, wait.
Like if you just get a spoonful.
No.
You mean you've never had a baked potato with sour cream on it?
Correct, or a taco with sour cream on it. But yeah, you are right. If you just had taken the spoonful of sour cream,
I got this. We have the squirt one. I just take a hit. Take a hit.
So that's kind of something that's the background information to this, right?
Okay.
Here's the thing. I think I probably would like it, like on a taco. Like I don't eat potatoes really, but like on a taco, I probably would like it. I might even like dipping a French fry in it because as I come to find out, I tend to like sour cream. But at this point in my life, at 40,
long in the tooth.
At this point in my life, will it enrich my life all that much to go down that road, or is it just another potential thing to make me fat? Do you know what I'm saying?
Well,
it's like if I had never had a Twix,
right?
But I've always liked caramel and cookies and chocolate, but I never actually had a Twix. At this point, do you even try it, or do you just your life, or does it make your life that much better to have it, or have you now just introduced a new
way to be
temptation?
Fat. So I don't think sour cream inherently is going to make you fat. I don't think.
No, it's working in concert.
It would be. It would be. And I'll be honest with you, like, given the option, I don't get sour cream on tacos. I think it's. Let me say this: if someone prepares me something, I can't think of a time where I wouldn't eat it because I eat basically everything. But I don't. If I have sour cream is available for tacos, like if we have taco night, I usually don't put sour cream.
Right.
It seems to take away from the other flavors, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is dominating.
But I like on a baked potato. Like we had Kelly made baked potatoes and cooked some steaks last night. Ooh, it was good.
Nice.
But yeah, sour cream baked potato all day long.
Yeah. So I'm fortunate. That's the one thing I feel like I'm fortunate in is that like. I don't like potatoes.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I don't like them at all. Like I like a French fry, and not like a fat French fry, like a wedge. I'm out.
Yeah.
Like as long as it's like just a little bit of potato and a good amount of fried, I'm usually in. But like,
this is kind of like a forest for the trees thing, I think, here for you.
Yeah,
or maybe the other way around.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. But
like the thing is like I'm grateful because like it would just be another vice. But like every time I look at like there's two foods that every time I look at. I always think, God damn, that looks good. Let me try it one more time.
Okay.
And I never like it. And that's mashed potatoes, like when somebody's really dolled it up with like the butter pool in the middle. And
right,
you know what I
right.
mean? Like there's like maybe some garlic, a little like the little green flecks. You know what I mean? Really dolled it up. And then like your traditional American like pork ribs. Like every time I look at them, like, God damn, that looks good. I'm gonna this time I'm gonna try, but it's too fatty. It's too fatty for me. Like I hate the texture.
Okay, I know exactly that texture.
Yeah.
Which it's delicious pork fat.
Yeah.
In mashed potatoes, is it a texture thing?
Yeah, I think it's like I need something in it. It's like too mushy. It's like it's like I don't eat oatmeal.
Is it too mush of the same thing, Bobby? There's not enough variety in it. Too much of the same thing.
Maybe I think I
slid by the first time.
It did. It actually almost slid by me the second time. It wasn't until I was getting ready to repeat it myself. But it's like it's like a mushy paste of potato. It's just not for me.
I mean, that's literally the definition of what it is. I know. My mom. I grew up on mashed potatoes, and Kelly makes them pretty regularly. Sometimes even the instant ones I think are good.
So here's where I can eat a potato, but it ends up just basically becoming a fucking chip. But like every now and then my wife will make like rosemary potatoes and like cut them real thin, and then
like au gratin almost, but not without the sauce. I know what you're talking about. Like oven baked.
Yeah. Real thin, super seasoned and marinated, and like then it's like eating like a potato chip.
Right.
But yeah, so anyway, I like there's a number of things at this point where I'm like, man, do I even fuck with this? Like, do I even go down that path? Is it like it's not like if you had never had like a really nice like fillet steak or T-bone or porterhouse or ribeye or something like that.
I think you just named all the steaks.
Yeah, but like not like the flank. You know what I mean? Not like the
right.
not the peasant shit. You know what I mean? But like if
some of that center cut shit.
But you know, if I came across someone that had never had that,
right?
You know, but was like trying to live a healthy life, I'm like, man, this one is probably something that's worth it. You know, you can't eat steak all the time, right? Like the red meat and shit, but like this is probably worth it to treat yourself to every so often to experience it. I'm not sure if sour cream falls into that pocket, and there's a few other things. I'm not sure if at 40 it's worth. There's another thing I've noticed at 40 also. I don't think women hate me as much anymore.
You think you're less threatening? Is that
I think it's that like I'm beginning to enter a phase where the things that I say women are finding less abrasive and more cute because I'm old. like so let me explain. Like my wife has often said, like when we've had this discussion, or I think it came up in a Q&A one time, and they're like, why do you think that often women feel this way about him? And she was like, because he often speaks to women like he's not trying to fuck them. Like
that's true. I mean, you speak to women like you speak to men. Yeah.
And like she's like, and most women they're not used to being spoken to that way.
I think that's changed, you know, as the years have gone by. That you know, in a workplace, for example.
Yeah.
You talk to everybody the same, or you try your best to.
Well, yeah, except in my workplace. But yeah, I still do. But like, I just I think that like at this point when I say like crazy shit, so I'll give an example. I was in a social gathering, under 10 people, officer, that had a young lady in it.
Okay.
And she is she works in the medical field. And she was dealing with a person who was on at least alcohol to a ridiculous degree, but quite possibly had a few other things on board. And this person grabbed her ass, like, and actually, like I think that I don't want to speak out of turn, but they grabbed like full hand on cheek, like not like a little like almost got it or got a little bit of it, but like as much as you could grab in one handful, got that much. And she had never had anything like that happen to her, and she said she flipped out a little bit, like get your fucking hands off, you know what I mean? Like
sure.
She lost a little bit of control, and you know, and like so people are like, oh, you know, that sucks, and you know, people are shitty, and you know, all the kind of normal things that you say. And I was like, and then she was like, yeah, you know, but you could tell in my head I was like, she's trying to get over it. I was like, well, you know, at least your ass isn't trash, you know what I mean? Somebody wanted to have a handful of it. And I said it, you know, of course, joking. Of course, it's a terrible thing to do for a fucking not a fucking animal. You know what I mean? But she laughed, and I feel like in that same situation 5 years ago, it'd have been like I would have got an eye roll or one of those numbers. I just feel like I'm entering. I don't know. I'm kind of embracing these things I'm noticing as turning this page in my life, and I'm really digging it. A lot of it. I'm not digging shit like I've got a new back pain. I was telling you about. I'm not digging that at all. I get really sleepy around 2:30, 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
Yep.
But chairs are now potential threats for falling asleep. If it's a comfortable chair in the afternoon, I'm like, man, I might fall asleep in this chair if I don't get up and get moving.
I tell you, I got a new office chair this week. Mm-hmm. And that whole game has changed, I think, because of everybody working from home. Like, this is a Beauty Rest brand chair, like the mattress company. Mm-hmm. And it's a big boy chair too. It's a big and tall chair, up to 400 pounds, Bobby. So nice. I've even got some flex room there, but it's very yeah.
Bring on the sour cream.
Sour cream and fat boy chairs, man. It's good to go. It's good to go. Hey, I like what you're doing. I see you, Bobby's made some changes here in the broadcast studio. I like your IDW shelf. That's very nice and tied together. I like that. It looks good.
Yeah, I've been making a few changes. So it's really coming down to this office, right?
Upstairs, right.
So my office upstairs, we're trying to find something that works, and it's so fascinating. I'm glad you. So we all. So first of all, welcome to Nerd Rage Radio, episode 288, I believe. Unfortunately, Joe couldn't make it. Joe was only off the 2 days that I work this week, so it just unfortunately couldn't happen.
And it didn't snow, so I was able to come.
Correct. Otherwise, it'd been a really lonely show.
Right.
But we got together this weekend for another dinner, and it was Joe's turn to provide the food. So Joe and Krista provided Korean barbecue ribs, chicken, and pork.
Yep.
And it was delicious.
Yep. I had leftover pork and potato salad for lunch yesterday.
I really like.
It's great stuff.
I really like these dinners. Mm-hmm. Like I think like. And I asked Joe a question during that dinner that I was tempted to say we should probably record this to add in somewhere. Mm-hmm. But I made a conscious decision not to, because I think it's good to get together and not have it be about content.
Right.
Like, just to enjoy each other's company, catch up on maybe shit you wouldn't say on air. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I think that shit, I think there's real inherent, like, bonding and merit and value to those, and I wish they happened more frequently, but like once a month to me I'll settle for.
Yeah.
But yeah, the food was fucking delicious. I stayed up way too late.
Yeah, I didn't. We got in the car, I'm like, oh shit, it's 11. I had no idea that it was that late.
That's what happens when you fucking come over. It's when he gets off work and gets home at
right,
7.
because we didn't eat till like 8.
Right. So it was like,
and I know that's like bedtime for you.
Oh yeah, I mean,
we normally eat between 7 and 8 most of the time, so it was right on time for us.
Yeah. So yeah, it was delicious. There's some good conversation, good talk. So the question that I asked Joe for the listeners was, and you had seen the Twitter feed, which was actually interesting because that was something. If you would have asked me like what Chris would have been, seeing that day,
I saw a link. I saw a link to. I'm not on Twitter like that. Like if somebody sends me something, and I saw somebody had posted somewhere, and I surface skimmed it.
So Rob Liefeld made a statement on Twitter that said, "I created Deadpool. I gave him his origin. I gave him his motivations. I created his costume. Anybody that said anything different is attempting to rewrite history." Something I'm pretty close verbatim. I don't know what that spawned from. I don't know if it didn't spawn. Of course, it young-blooded from something, perhaps.
Okay.
But
you saw the twinkle in my eye.
Yes. But I don't know where that came from. And I there was one person in there that tagged Ryan Reynolds in it, and then he was like, "I'm a fan of Ryan Reynolds," and he said, "Oh, I know. I just want him to see it." So I don't know if Ryan Reynolds said something, or if it was Fabian and Kelly, because they're both kind of super responsible for fleshing out who that character is.
Right.
A lot of people. In that, and that's like the conversation piece of it, right? Is like, who created it? Who did create Deadpool? Like, you could say who drew him for the first time. You can say who created his suit. Mm-hmm. You can say who gave him his name.
I mean, based on the way those contracts were set up back then, the whole reason Image got started is Marvel Comics created that character. I mean, and that's unfortunately how the I don't think those guys are getting paid off Deadpool. I don't think
I would seriously.
I don't think Liefeld gets a penny point every time that they show the movie on TV.
But it got me thinking, like, we should probably change the way we see this stuff. Like, Bob Kane and Bill Finger, Bill Finger mainly, but they created Batman.
Right.
But probably just as much, if maybe a little more than Frank Miller did, and Neil Adams and Jeff Loeb and a number of people that have come along and touched that character and kind of helped shape him into what we know.
Yeah.
that character, the Batman that I love, has little to anything to do with Bill Finger and Bob Kane.
Exactly.
You know, and probably the same for Joe. Actually, I can say, because he said it, you know, same for Joe and Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, obviously I know what Rob Liefeld is trying to say. But I know what everybody else is saying, too. Like, it's not as simple as that. You know, it's almost like it's more truthful to say, like, I created the name in suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the character got to get it to the level of where it was in popularity. You know, how many writers did it go through to get to that? You know,
yeah, and how people recognize that character. You probably got to throw the fucking movie people in. Mm-hmm. You got to throw Reynolds in, probably. You know, like as far as how people view that character and who that character is today, there's a lot of hands in that pot, as it should be.
Yeah,
that's what makes it great.
I'll tell you, I knew Deadpool from New Mutants '98 or whatever, and honestly had never picked up another piece of Deadpool fiction ever. It just wasn't ever on my radar, right? So. You know, when the movie comes out and he's this slapstick guy, I was like, I didn't get it at first, but I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's happened here. They've created this character here, and it made sense to me, and that's fine. But to say, I don't know. I mean, it's a let's say that Youngblood had taken off.
Yeah.
You know,
it took off in my heart, Chris. It took off.
Well, there's one place. Let's say that it had taken off, but over the years, it had gone from this real serious, dark pouches everywhere to this, almost family dramedy.
Right.
Liefeld created the characters, but it's gone through 100 different writers and artists over the years, and now it's it's an episode of Modern Family.
Yeah.
I mean.
And I mean, I think that like it's almost the same with everything. I don't even think that like there's anything that's been around that like you can lay the creation and everything at the feet of one person,
right?
Right. Like people come along and they touch it and they mold it and they add their sauce to it and now it's bigger than you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of where it's just funny that I never applied it that way, but I think it's kind of where I catch a beef with like Hasbro and third party in a way where I'm like, you don't own this. And I think obviously on paper they own it, contractually they own it. But like so many people have come along and touched Transformers as a franchise that like, Hasbro owns it legally, but so many people are responsible for it. It's bigger than what Hasbro owns.
Right.
Right. Yeah, but no, neither here nor there. That's a whole nother ball of wax. I wanted to see if there was one other thing I wanted to mention before we got into Nerd Weeks. Sour cream, women like me now, and no, I think that, and then the dinner, which I do enjoy. And we're gonna do pizza next, and Phil wants to be present for that, so
nice.
I'll reach out to
Phil.
Like
we've got all the ingredients to try out our recipe that we want to run with, and like I told you, I'm not going to tell you what it is until we get it, because it's a 2-day process and it can be tricky. So we want to perfect it a couple times
and
beforehand.
I like even that part of it, like that like Laura and I are like working on shit, like, oh man, we got to do this for the.
Well, yeah, it's almost like you gotta come with it now,
I love that shit. So Chris, how was your Nerd Week?
Well, it's funny. I wasn't here last week, and it's a pitiful amount. I don't know. I've just been working. My job's been pretty nuts. Obviously it's all telework, but it's still just very busy, and just grinding away on diorama stuff. And I did do some stuff. I bought a new VR game called Red Matter. You are sometime in the future going to one of the moons of Jupiter.
As one does in the future.
Sure. And whatever you're with I guess whatever America is at this point. And this is I don't remember what they call them, but it's the Russians. They have an outpost, and nobody's been answering signals for months or whatever. So they send you alone to this place, and there's a bunch of puzzles you have to, and it's a short game. It's only like 3 hours. A lot of these VR games, that would be most people's complaint, is they're not very long. It's like $30.
Right.
I mean, it's replay value. You could do it several times, I suppose. I don't think the puzzles change.
I'm still looking forward to trying that out.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I made myself a little motion sick one time, so I had to put it down. But you could play through it in one sitting. Yeah, it was fun. I was looking at other things they make for VR, and I saw there's a vest you can get. It's almost like a safety harness, but it's got haptic feedback. So like if you get shot,
nice, like the Bug's Life at Disney World.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go, something like that. I just don't know how the VR headset works with. You know, how does it know what to do? I just don't know the ins and outs of that. But I was looking at those online, and my social media ads became back braces. I'm like, y'all fucked this one up.
Close.
I just thought that was funny.
You're in the ballpark.
Yeah. So I am rewatching the the DCEU movies. I watched Man of Steel. I hadn't seen that in years. I watched Man of Steel again.
And?
Oh, it's great.
It's great.
It's really good. And I've about halfway through BVS. I've got the super long cut, and it's like, I'm going to fall asleep. Yeah. I don't want to be that guy, falling asleep on movies.
Yeah, it's a tough life. It's a bug's life.
But it's, I don't know. I just paying more attention to it, I guess, although I've seen it several times. I think I've only seen the extended cut one other time. But just, Bruce's whole angle in there with being there when everything falls apart is pretty interesting stuff.
And the intricacies of Lex's plot are pretty fascinating. But, so I think that movie, let me say this. When I saw it in the theater, it was a 6. When I saw the uncut, it was an 8. I really enjoy it. Let me also say, because of how intricate that plot is, and it really is like a house of cards, and when the studio came in and took one card, let alone 75 minutes of cards or whatever it was,
right?
I can see how it completely falls apart.
Sure.
But I say all that to say this. I totally get why general audiences don't care for it. It's not a superhero movie in the tradition of superhero movies. It's something else. And I like it. But I get, as I was watching it, I was like, if I was a person that came to see a movie called Batman versus Superman, I can see why I would walk out of this upset.
Right.
But I had a shout out to Inhaled Farts, I believe is his.
I'm familiar.
Okay.
He's around.
So I had a conversation with him on Instagram briefly. I try not to get too much in text debates because there's so much lost in tone and nuance, and it just never leads to much of anywhere. But in talking to him about it, one of the things he said was he didn't like Lex Luthor's. So but I had to respond to that because I felt the same way until I started really wrapping my head around this is Lex Jr. It's not Lex Luthor.
Right, it's his son.
Lex Luthor would have been a problem for Batman in his prime. Lex Jr. is the next generation of villains coming. And in the comics, Lex Luthor is a nut.
Yeah.
He's not all together like his dad was. So when I wrap my mind around that, it's disappointing for me that Superman is encountering this world at this point in his life.
Right.
But I mean, it looks like we only this universe is going to be very short lived anyway. So
it looks like it based on,
we'll talk about
some
that
news
here
we have. Yeah. And keeping in the Superman pocket, I guess as a necessity of something to watch, and I have access to it. I watched the pilot episode of Superman and Lois, which is the new CW universe.
Correct.
Is that the same actor that played him in the
I don't know
crossover stuff? Because his suit's different.
I don't know. I never watch any of that shit.
It's an interesting take on the story. So just the setup is Lois
has kids.
Right. So Lois and Clark, and they give you a quick, it's 5 minutes of this is how we got here. But it's Lois and Clark both working at the planet. They have 2 sons, Jordan and Jonathan, I believe.
All right.
And one of them's a super, he's going to be the first freshman to be the varsity quarterback.
Sure.
They don't know if it's powers because he hasn't shown powers.
Right.
And then the other one is like this socially awkward video games, music, very, not interested. They're going to therapy with him.
Right.
So they both like the planet goes out of business essentially. They're cutting jobs. So they both.
Oh yeah,
they both
sign of the times.
Right. They both lose their jobs and. Ma dies back in Smallville, so they have to go back. The kids go to the bonfire party and get in a fight, and well, guess what happens? Somebody shoots lasers out of their eyes.
Start the fire.
Right. And, some common tropes, but some new stuff. There's a villain. I won't give away who the villain is for anybody who hasn't watched yet. It's a familiar person, but not
the most familiar.
It's a familiar name, but you wouldn't recognize their face. I'll say that.
Okay.
They've done some creative casting there. I think it's probably worth a watch if it's something you want to jump in on from the ground up. Mm-hmm. A lot of that stuff now, like The Flash is in. I don't know what season it's in. And,
yeah, I have no clue. I watched the first season of it.
I watched several seasons of The Flash because I watched several seasons of Arrow, but it just got so ridiculous.
I didn't hate The Flash. I just didn't. It just still had that WB.
Well, they're trying to sell to teenage.
Correct,
girls.
and I'm just not. And I'm just not that.
No, you're not. You're not. Let me see. Was it? I know you're not a huge golf fan, but you obviously know who Tiger Woods is, and you saw
the documentary.
Not necessarily. Yeah, well, I know there's a documentary, but he was in that horrific car.
Oh
yeah,
you saw that. Yeah.
Well, they come to find out it may actually be like a blessing in disguise for him.
Really?
Yeah, they said all the injuries he sustained is probably going to increase his handicap. Shout out to my wife for that one. She actually came up with that. I told her I'd work it.
I like it. I was going to say something about Tiger Woods, I think, but just that I talked to my dad briefly this week, for better or worse, whole different fucking ball game. But he said, because my dad was a retired firefighter, and he a captain, I think is the rank he retired at. But they said that he's like, well, I read this article and they said they used the jaws of life. Which I know is supposed to be very impressive to most people, but the jaws of life is just a name brand for a tool, and that tool comes off the rig many times a day.
Yeah. Well, truth be told, they use an axe. Yeah, because I will tell you something that's been really annoying. With all the shit going on in the world, Tiger Woods being injured in a car accident has been top headline, which is kind of annoying. But they had the someone that worked for the fire department, and they showed the axe that they actually used, and is this news? In the world we live in, this is what people want, I guess, whatever.
I guess.
So, and of course, watch WandaVision.
So, what are your thoughts on that?
I like where it's going. Yeah.
I thought it was fine.
I thought the Ghost of Christmas Past, was an interesting way to lay out this episode.
And so this one wasn't shot in a...
No, I think we're done with the sitcoms.
But we saw footage of an office style shit during one of the trailers, like with that window with the blinds, you know what I mean? Yeah,
maybe I don't know, maybe they'll pepper that in on this last episode somehow.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think this is going to be a hard one to close and be satisfying for me.
Do you think it's going to roll right into things that happen in this roll right into the Bucky?
I think that would be the smart way to do it.
Yeah.
You can keep it kind of out of the theatrical stuff and sort of roll it into the TV beefs. Mm-hmm. I think that would probably be the smart way.
TV beefs.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was fine. I think that the Agatha thing was if you I don't know who that character is, just to be transparent.
Yeah.
But if you got on the internet at any point, I feel and are remotely interested in nerd shit in any capacity, you saw some link that said it was her since it started.
So I watch a recap, Screen Crush. I think we watch. He does 72 Easter eggs and things you might have missed kind of video. I watch pretty much he does that for Mandalorian and everything. So, and they've said that it's pointing to this Agatha Harkness who. Apparently it's Agnes, and because she wears that brooch all the time, and now we know where that's from. But she apparently in the comics was the person who taught Wanda how to use her powers. At some point, to like her when she was I think when they decided she wasn't a mutant, that
right.
It's changed so many times.
Yeah.
But she's not. She wasn't a mutant. She was just when she was on the West Coast Avengers.
Yes, of course.
West Coast Avengers.
West Side.
It's a B team for sure.
Death Row. So I wanted to circle back real quick to those bookshelves that we got to talking about for a minute.
Yes.
So I'm working on these bookshelves in my office. So I talked about it briefly last week on the show, and I got to show Chris and Kelly some of them, and getting close to where I want them to varying degrees. But what was interesting to me about it, just in the midst of all this, dummies drama that I find myself in every time we put out an episode of it, but so I brought you and Kelly into the office, and I was like, look, these 4 shelves, I want your opinions on just what's the best, or 4 or 5, whatever it was. What's the best one and what's the worst one?
Right.
So there's a couple of things that are interesting to me about it. Numerous, to be fair. One was stuff that you and I have talked about before, about just how we communicate and how we, and there was a lot of before, but when you guys were ready, there was a lot of, now look, if I was just Joe Schmo coming off the street, like prepping it, what I mean? Sure. And I'm like, I don't get to it. Tell me which one sucks, because that's where I live, is in that place. But secondly, is how vastly different and subjective it all really is. Mm-hmm. And I say that because this is 4 people, you, me, Kelly, and yourself, or you, me, Kelly, Laura, and I gave you double credit.
That's fine.
I
deserve it.
All of those 4 people, I respect their aesthetic taste.
Nobody more so than yourself.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I might go to Laura first on that.
You're probably fair to do that.
But all of which I respect their aesthetic taste, generally speaking, like decorating the house, whether whatever the case may be, presentation. I respect everybody's opinion there, and nobody had the same favorite.
Right.
My favorite was your worst, and my worst was your worst.
So which one was your worst?
The Turtles one. I was like, this is my worst. And you were like, this is my worst too.
Yeah. Because it's just like the Island of Misfit Toys.
Well, and what's funny is our reasons for it being the worst are entirely opposite.
Right.
To those listening, it's a shelf. It has 2 of the kind of oversized Eastman and Laird graphic novels in the corners, and then there's a turtle van that houses the DVDs in the middle with the NECA gaming turtles sitting on them, and then split on the both sides is that third-party Shredder, that third-party Krang, Toka, and Razor. So I don't like it because it looks crowded to me. It looks crowded and cramped and too busy. Mm-hmm. And I think in that room with that style furniture, less is certainly more. It's like it's almost like it looks better to me. Like my favorite shelf in there is that Ravage and Prime, and only because it has it's 2 pieces and it's done, and everything else looks books, and all the books look the same. It just looks so purposeful to me.
Right.
But and then the thing that you didn't like that shelf, and you didn't like the, I wonder what the hell.
That's a
lasso for sure.
I
think I know
Wonder Woman. Yeah.
But you didn't like the Turtles one either, and for the same reasons that like context-wise, they don't belong together. So because it's the video game stuff mixed with the movie stuff, mixed with a little cartoon stuff, so that's the issue there. And then it was the cartoon Ravage with the Transformers IDW Prime. That doesn't blend for you. And there was the same thing with the Batman shelf. It has the Nolanverse book, which isn't part of the game stuff. So like that's how you view that, is like it should be all like items, which I get.
Right.
But it's just, I say all that to say this, it's just fascinating what it is about the way something looks that makes a person lean into it or away from it, depending on so many little nuances and variances about the contents of it, Laura and I probably talked about that for an hour. Like, you know what I mean? Just trying to figure out, like, because we're struggling with. I'm struggling with that space. Laura's pretty actually like kind of like no. I think we're onto something. I'm like I don't know, but anyway, that's that. Let's see. So WandaVision, of course. So I'm watching a show on Showtime that I'm loving, and I don't think it's a new show. But it's a documentary. No, yeah, it's a documentary. I guess it's in the documentary thing because it's like real. Mm-hmm. But it's called Couples Therapy. Okay. So there's like 4 couples that are going to this therapist, and the cameras are just on inside the therapy room, and they talk about their problems for whatever, and then she sees a therapist about her therapy. Like
the therapist
sees a therapist.
Okay.
So it kind of, if anyone's ever seen the show In Treatment, it had Gabriel Byrne in it.
I know what it is. So yeah, I know what it is. I've never seen it though.
It's a real life version of that.
Okay.
But it's really high production value, and the couples are kind of fascinating. Like, so there's one heterosexual couple that have been married forever, and obviously love each other, but have these things like between the two of them that these hurdles that they just can't get over, right? There's another heterosexual couple, younger, not been together as long, and in my opinion, they're not going to make it. There's no way they can fucking make it. They should have never got married. There is a couple that one is trans post-op,
okay, male
to female, and she is married to a female.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yes. There's a lot to kind of keep straight there. And it's all kind of important because some of it's interesting. Like, so before she transitioned from male to female, mm-hmm. she froze some of her sperm.
Okay.
And that sounds really weird to say in that sentence. I'm just going to put that out there. Probably the first time I've ever said she froze her sperm. But she did. And
I think you hit all the notes on it, though.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to play by the rules. If I slip up, it's nothing personal. It's my own, just trying to stay current. And the wife really wants kids, but the trans female is not sure that she wants kids.
Okay.
But they have the option. But sex is an issue for them too, because post-op, the trans person has found it to not be enjoyable and to actually be painful. She described it as moving broken glass around your body.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So not a pleasant experience. Yeah. So they're having all sorts of intimacy issues. Mm-hmm. So it's a different ball of wax, but because of the various components to their relationship, it's pretty fascinating to watch. Especially from like I'll just be honest, almost from like a sociological standpoint.
Right.
And then there's one couple that we haven't met yet.
Okay.
But it looks like, just from the outside looking in, I'm guessing that the dude it's just my guess, and I could be sizing him up all sorts of wrong.
Right.
My guess is PTSD, retired military.
Okay.
Is my guess. And anyway.
Showtime's been delivering for you.
Dude. Showtime and HBO.
Who knew?
Shit is on fire, and there's stuff that we want to see that we're like we don't have too much, just not enough time in the day to watch all this good shit, which is cool. It's cool to see. I'm thinking about getting Hulu because there's a lot of shit I want to watch on there.
How do you not have Hulu with your Disney?
I don't think we got the bundle, whatever that was. Like, I think we just got it by itself. I could be wrong, or the Hulu could have expired. Like, we could have gotten Hulu for a bit.
Maybe.
I can't keep track of all that shit. But I want to watch the Britney doc. I want to watch the Tekashi doc, and I want to watch there's some hip hop doc that's on there that was just recommended to me recently. I think by Jeremy B.
Shout out to Jeremy B.
I believe. Don't quote me on that. It was late last night.
Speaking of documentaries, I haven't watched it yet. There's some sort of Biggie documentary that just popped up. It's up.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it up yesterday. I started to watch it yesterday, but I didn't have time to finish it, and I was afraid I wouldn't just forget to go back and watch it.
Yeah,
so
I would like to watch that.
I'll watch it maybe this week sometime.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely watch that. So anyway, I'm really enjoying that show. And I read a Green Lantern Earth 1 Volume 1. So that's like their like real world universe.
Okay. Is this a new book?
I don't think so. No, it can't be because I have Volume 2 already.
Okay.
But like it's interesting. It's in the future. NASA is no more. Space travel is kind of independently private companies.
Oh, so basically
forth.
like what's happening already.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And he is on like an exploration to like I think mine some moon for parts for phones and shit. Like
Sure.
You know, it's that. And they find this wrecked ship, and inside the wrecked ship is Abansor, who is the previous Green Lantern for that sector.
Okay.
And he takes the ring off of him and puts it on him and then becomes the Green Lantern. And as soon as he does, there's like a wrecked Manhunter. Are you familiar with them?
I know who Martian Manhunter is.
So not Martian Manhunter, but the Manhunter
No,
arm.
I guess not.
So the Guardians, this is a little fun history on Green Lantern.
Just real quick, the story you just told me about him finding the right ring, is that kind of just a generic setup no matter what the scenario? Because you lent me a Green Lantern book and he was a fighter pilot and it ended up being basically that same setup.
Yes, but usually, but he was still alive. Abansor was still alive, and the ring went to him. Okay. So like the ring, when a Lantern dies, the ring leaves the finger and finds the most suitable host.
Okay.
On its own. This is a different spin on it because the ring didn't move on. He took the ring from him. So that's a different spin. And then the fact that this Manhunter. So the Guardians of Oa, and listeners forgive me because it's been a while since I've dug into this stuff. But so they created the Green Lantern and they created the Lantern Corps to protect the universe.
Okay.
But they wanted them to basically be the police, and the Guardians were the police chiefs. But the police were like, basically, like, well, no, because I don't agree with you here. The most just thing to do here. So they had opinions of their own. They had values of their own. The rings themselves choose the most suitable person. So nobody made the wrong choice.
Right.
It was just like, you know, not everything is black and white. Some stuff operates in the gray. So they got pissed. And I think they created the Manhunters to put the Green Lanterns in line. Okay. But then they ended up being a huge problem for the Lanterns, and they are constantly at battle. And I don't think that the Guardians have much to do with them anymore. Okay. So this Manhunter like comes to life. Basically, he was deactivated because the Lantern died. So he was only there, and then he was like this, and then like Hal Jordan put the ring on, and like off he goes. But basically, in this universe, the Manhunters won. And they took control of the universe, but then they even didn't respect the Guardians either. They kind of became the same thing, okay. But now they're like tyrants. And then the Lanterns are like hiding in secret, and they all come in free a bunch of people from slavery that the Manhunters have done and all this shit. But it was good. I have part 2. I'm going to get into it. Nice. I like the Earth 1 stuff because it's like very self-contained. I recommended the Wonder Woman one to Dunkel because it's very. You don't need any lore. You don't need any to know the 70 years of history prior. You just pick it up, you read it, you consume it, and you put it away. Some stuff I want to know all about the strings that are attached, and but some stuff I just want to be able to easily consume something and then put it back on the shelf and be done.
I think that's important for them, comic companies,
1000%.
to offer those two paths for people.
Accessibility.
Yeah, because if somebody sees the Justice League movie and is like, Aquaman, although he's a complete doof in this series, let me see. I want to read Aquaman, and there's probably a one-shot kind of book you can read and know everything you want to know, or you could probably read all the way back to Super Friends if you wanted to dig deep.
So here's another little thing. Like, this isn't really about the situation as much as it is bringing up a topic and seeing if you can relate, if you have anything in your life, same thing. Okay. So Laura and I got into a bit of a tiff the other night. It was shortly after we recorded last week's Nerd Rage. Okay. And basically she came home from work and I wanted to play some songs for her, right? Which is not uncommon. And there was like 6 songs that I hadn't exposed her to. And of the 6, I was like 4 she's going to love. one could go either way, and one she's not going to like. I know she's not going to like this one.
Okay.
But I still want her to hear it. So, played the 4, no problem. Played the 1, she ended up actually liking it. She was,
the one you thought she would
could go either way. Okay. The one that could go either way. And then we get to the last one. Now, keep in mind,
and you staged these in the order which you thought she would like.
Yes,
to dislike.
Yes, okay. kind of setting her up. And then we have a slow decline rather than starting off on the wrong foot.
Right.
And to be fair, some of the songs that I liked, I like them all, but even the ones I was like, some of them I added because I like, it's cool, I would listen to it, but I'm also like, man, she probably would really like this. So that's, you know what I mean? And also I think that, like, anytime, like, I think for me, like, any art, like, that you connect with and you try to give to someone to expose them to, like, I don't think I necessarily get sensitive about their opinion regarding it, but I just want you to give it a fair shake.
That's understandable.
So, like, so we get to the last song, which I knew she wasn't going to like. And about halfway through, maybe a quarter of the way through, she starts complaining about it. And then doesn't really listen, in my opinion, doesn't really listen to the rest of the song, just is trashing it. You know what I mean? From that point to the end. And it fucking pissed me off.
So just so I'm clear, you when in that situation, you would prefer someone to listen to the entire 3.5 minutes.
But 2.5 these days.
Okay, yeah. I did notice that. We have a channel, it's MTV something, they actually play music videos, and I put it on the other day just to see what in the world was going on. And it seemed like everything was like 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes long. Everything's so
Welcome
short.
to the streaming era.
Right, exactly. So, okay, understand.
Yeah. So 4 songs played, loved it, all of it. Great. One song played, like, oh, I like this too. Okay, great. One song played, and just couldn't give me more than 15 seconds of it before it was just like, shit. But I found myself getting really upset by it, and I had to really think to myself about why. Like, because I think that's a lot of what I'm into now is figuring out why. Why am I angered by this?
Find your triggers.
Yeah. And I think it's that it's like, first of all, it's very personal, right? Because I'm saying that I connect with this. I'm like, in a way, I'm exposing something about myself to say, like, I'm really into this.
Right.
Give this a shot. And then, secondly, I think it's the fact of, like, give me 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You know what I mean? I think it's those, especially when, to be fair for her, it's not like she knows that I've added some of these songs that I'm kind of iffy on, but I think that it's not like I gave her that, you know what I mean? Maybe she would have been more, it wasn't like, there's no divorce paperwork getting filed or anything,
right.
But it was just like a little like, man, what the hell? But I didn't know if there was anything like that you guys have.
Well, I just have a question about that. How often do you, when she gets home from work, you have music for her to listen to?
Usually once a week.
Okay. Do you think that 6 songs may be a little excessive after she has been at work all day and coming home to...
So maybe.
I don't know. I'm just thinking how
maybe.
I might handle that.
Maybe. However, not every week is 6. It just happened to be a heavy week, so to speak.
Sure.
Sometimes it's like, just this one. Sometimes it's none.
Right.
It's like, it all depends on what comes out that's good to me.
Right.
That week.
I mean, this is going to sound silly, but... I watch a lot of wrestling, obviously, and Kelly ends up just sitting there while I'm watching it. Normally doesn't pay much attention. And there's just she'll get a kick out of this too. There's a wrestler named Randy Orton. He's been wrestling for years. His dad wrestled. I think his grandfather might have wrestled. I think he's a 3rd generation wrestler. I don't necessarily like him as a character, and I never have, but I appreciate his work rate, as they say in wrestling, is fucking phenomenal. He does a great job. And Kelly will oftentimes just shit on Randy Orton. And I don't know. I defend, but I get upset. She says I get upset about it. Right. And I don't think I do. I just think, I guess I look at that differently because I was involved in the industry. And I think maybe you look at music differently because you were involved in that industry.
Well, yeah, to an extent.
So, to an extent. So, certainly I understand that. Not from necessarily a musical standpoint.
Right. But from you had this other place, though. You had this other thing that's like,
sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like it's and like if like at the end of it, like if she was like, not for me.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have skipped a beat. You know what I mean? Like I would have just continued on with my night, no problem. But it did affect the rest of the evening. Like this one little event that took place over 2 minutes and 30 seconds affected the rest of the evening.
It happens.
You know, it's crazy.
Yep.
Really. I think that's it. I think that's all I got. I feel like there's one other thing, but if I remember it, I'll just bring it up. Yeah. So, notes. We have not looking good. So, San Diego Comic-Con canceled.
Yep.
They're trying to do a virtual one over the course of 3 days with whatever.
Well, so let's break SDCC down from our point of view, and what to you, not as an attendee, but just watching the feeds. What's important to you from SDCC? CCC.
So probably first and foremost is toy reveals and collectible reveals, and secondly is like cast and crew interviews from upcoming films that are either announced or moving forward.
Okay, so I'm going to assume that 2021 will be similar to 2020, where all the toy companies will do their own. They'll do their own thing. For example, Mezco Toys instead. Obviously, Toy Fair got canceled. They had Mezco Toys Fair last weekend and revealed a ridiculous amount of new stuff. And Hasbro did that last year, and I'm assuming they'll do something similar. Of course, Hasbro
they've been kind of doing it.
They've been sprinkledy. Yeah. Fan First Friday, Mando Mondays.
It's like they've been watching my channel.
Right. Yeah, they sit down on Saturday. We might have a problem. And like DC did that weird thing, the virtual dome thing last year. Star Wars did or not Star Wars. Disney did the whole thing. Was it November they were announced all that shit?
Yeah, was that? I can't remember whether it's related to D23 or not, but.
It might have been, but I think everybody seems to be adapting, and it sucks that show's not going to happen. Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense for them to do it. I don't know how that looks for everything else going forward. Like,
see, that's my thing. It's like, what precedent is it? Setting?
I mean, if you think about, you've put on events before, right? I've put on events before. Could you imagine the logistic undertaking to put on something like, let's even say, Baltimore Comic-Con versus San Diego? I mean, this is the biggest Comic-Con in the world. And knowing now that it's iffy, I'm not going to put a lot of money and resources into that. If I can get out of whatever contract I'm in with the venue, and that's why a lot of places aren't canceling shit till right close to the time, because the venues, they can't file insurance unless the venue claims out.
Correct. So I think that's a big part of it, right? Is like last year, I know with Baltimore specifically, they had to wait for the governor to shut the shit down, and they're like, okay, it's out of our hands. We want to continue.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know where that line is. Like in terms of, at what point is it safe? And where are we going to make those declarations? And,
right.
Like, I don't even know what the goal is anymore.
Like there's 80% vaccination. I think that's something like that.
I mean, I'm okay. I'm like,
because they're never going to get 100% vaccination.
I just need a target. I just need something to strive for. You know?
I saw an interesting piece on the news the other day. There's a group of remote communities. I'm going to say Eskimo. I don't know if that's the right word anymore or not. Forgive me if it's not. Yeah. Native people of Alaska probably is a better. That is going to basically have 100% vaccination of everyone 16 and over, I think, by the end of the month.
Oh, wow.
Because it's a very small community. They've actually had a couple outbreaks. I'm like, did you throw those people in a dungeon when they came? So, it's like you have to get permission to leave, and like when you come back your course. So
that's crazy.
I mean, dude. That's going to be an interesting, I think, looking at it under a dome, so to speak, to see.
DC Dome. We'll be looking at it under the DC Dome.
That was really lousy VR. Anyways, I don't know. I mean, I know with this new vaccine getting approved, Johnson & Johnson, the one shot, rolling out. Apparently, they're saying tomorrow people will start getting those.
Yeah. I think my dad got it.
The Johnson.
I think so.
I don't know. Maybe
I don't know. He just got one yesterday, and I think they were waiting. I don't know.
My parents both are fully vaccinated as of Thursday, I think. They got theirs down in Florida. So, you know, I mean, I joined as you know, I love my Facebook group. Yes. And I actually saw this on the national news. There's a Maryland vaccine hunters Facebook group. So I joined it just to see what the vibe was. Yeah. And it's a lot of it's just a lot of people helping other people out, because a lot of folks just don't know what you have to do. So, you know, M&T Stadium is doing them, and apparently it's super organized. Like you pull up, give them your info, and drive to the next person, get your shot, and
it makes sense to me.
Go on down the road. But like CVS and Walgreens are going to be doing the vaccination. So, you know, like the CEO of Moderna said, get whatever you can. Don't wait on any particular shot. Get whatever you can.
Which I respect that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as soon as I'm eligible, I'm gonna get my vaccine.
Yeah.
It just peace of mind, and you know, I think the more people who get it, the closer we'll be to normalcy. Being able to get. I don't think I think 2019 will be the last year we had that was ever what we considered normal.
Yeah.
And the heartbreaking part of that is our children aren't going to grow up in a world like, you know.
There's a lot of heartbreaking parts to that world that they might be inheriting.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, I remember what the other thing was for my Nerd Week. While we're on the topic of Comic Cons and Comic Con reveals. I read portions of, to be fair, the interview with Zack Snyder in Vanity Fair, I believe it was, and I just read it like screenshots that I could find on the internet. Because I actually went to buy the magazine.
Yeah,
couldn't find it. To be fair, I only went to We Is, though. I don't know if Vanity Fair is the right book for We Is. Right tool for the right job.
If I happen to see it, I'll grab you a copy. Is it the Justice League on the cover, supposedly?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It is the most recent one, though, and I'm sure his interview is on the front page somewhere. But interestingly enough, he talks about they contacted him and said, look, we're going to put it out. We're going to put it out. And he was like, it's not done. He's like, well, don't worry about all of the post stuff. We're going to put it out black and white. And he's like, no.
I saw that.
Yep. Nope, we're not doing that. Because one, you'll get the credit for being the savior of putting it out. Two, if it's not good, people will say
it's Zack Snyder's fault.
It's Zack Snyder's fault. This is why Warner Brothers didn't want to put it out in the first place. So you get to be the hero regardless.
Right.
You've got to let me finish it.
Right.
So they said they would basically, you know, we had this amount of budget. And he was like, well, that's all I need to make the movie. And he did it for free.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Like, and that made me like, you know, another thing that was interesting was he said that Christopher Nolan and his wife got to go to like a screening of it. And he said that Christopher Nolan walked out of it and called Zack Snyder right away. He was like, don't watch it.
Oh, of the black and white version?
No, of the Justice League.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
It was like, do not watch it. Do not watch it.
Wow.
So his wife ended up watching it because I think she was still technically a producer on it, and she was like, it's not mentioned in our house. It wasn't talked about. It was just like, it was so painful. Plus all the family shit they were dealing with, or whatever. But it was a pretty interesting. Like the little excerpts that I read, it just makes me like, win, lose or draw. It makes me happy that he gets to finish. Some element of his vision of it.
Yeah.
Your move, creep. RoboCop, a giant RoboCop statue was revealed in Detroit.
Why?
Detroit's giant RoboCop statue is real, and it's spectacular at 11 feet, 2.5 tons. Detroit's long-awaited RoboCop statue, which has been 11 years in the making, is finally just about complete, minus a few finishing touches. It's ready to serve and protect, but does not yet have a permanent spot to patrol in the city where the 1987 movie took place. Standing more than 11 feet tall and weighing a whopping 2.5 tons, the construction of this bronze statue was led by Giorgio Gikis of Venus Bronze Works. The company is known for maintaining, restoring, and repairing historic statues from Detroit and all over the country.
They still don't have any water in Flint. Just saying. It's right there.
The idea for the statue happened around 11 years ago after someone on Twitter pointed out that Philadelphia had a Rocky statue, and one of RoboCop would be a great ambassador for Detroit.
I don't know about that.
It said we had to contact MGM, who owns the likeness of RoboCop. It became a really long process. We had to get the exact model made. The model had to be blown up to over a 10-foot mold. That happened in Vancouver. That took years. The owner of the Bronze Works went through a cancer scare. That took more years. Due to unprecedented, Chris. It was unprecedented pressures from the coronavirus pandemic. Resources must now be entirely focused on our core mission of serving Michigan's students and families. So, yeah. It's funny to me, man.
It's like, why are you doing this?
Yes, it's so funny to me. I mean, but, more power to it. It just seems like...
Yes.
It seems... Look, I love RoboCop. I have not had the Detroit-style pizza... but I obviously have respect for the city just based on its reputation. I've never been.
I've had Little Caesars a lot.
I have had Little Caesars
a lot. A lot of Little Caesars.
I've even had Crazy Bread,
dude. I'll fuck up some Crazy Bread. I'll fuck up some commas on some Crazy Bread, then fuck up some Crazy Bread. Damn, I want some of that shit right now. Where's the Little Caesars?
If you know me, you know I have complicated views, and I don't think that most things are black and white. I think that most things operate in a shade of gray, in terms of everything.
Much like our hoodies. They're both gray, but very different.
Much like our hoodies.
But
yes.
very different.
Yes. Whether it be social issues or political issues or even whether or not fucking episode 9 is good. But I don't know if RoboCop is the right choice right now for a giant statue in Detroit. I just don't know. I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe ED-209 is the actual right choice for Detroit now.
Didn't the dude shoot a fucking cigarette out of the dude's mouth? Man,
I haven't seen the movie in so long. All I remember is they had Ford Tauruses that were out like right then, and that was the car of the future. I'm like, man, the future's kind of sad. I know that car looked futuristic in '86, but come on.
It's just, it's cool to me.
The whole premise of that is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it's cool to me because I love RoboCop and I love like pop culture infiltrating just regular life.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it to be a very strange time for it to roll out.
They finally got done with it, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so be more open. I love Baltimore City. Baltimore strip club performers protest COVID restrictions.
I saw that.
Adult entertainment interrupting City Hall's news conference.
I saw that, Bobby. And I have some things that well, finish your bit here and then I'll chime in.
So they interrupted this shit, right? And they got on like bullhorns yelling stuff like, "Come outside, Mr. Mayor, we just want to have a talkie talk."
Yeah.
They did interviews and stuff. They said, a punishing slap on our faces. They've singled out adult entertainment. We don't know why. It's
Bobby, they're almost all single mothers.
Yes.
Almost all of them.
Yes. Or college students, of course.
Well, they didn't mention that. I watched like the news thing on it.
But it says, you can go to the strip club for the bar.
Okay.
And the strippers are still there.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't strip. And they're like just begging for tips. And it's like
oh, that sounds comfortable.
It's like saying McDonald's can open, but you can only sell coffee. We have practically begged customers for tips, she said. The money isn't enough to cover rent and other expenses, blah, blah, blah. I was more scared. Oh, so she briefly took a job at as a bartender in Fells Point. Fells Point, for those that don't know, is kind of like it's this weird spot where it kind of has like a downtown artsy vibe to it, but it's also like in the middle of these projects. But
and they race motorcycles through there.
Yes,
dirt bikes.
Yes, the 12 o'clock boys will come through there as well.
Isn't it like a dirt bike task force or something?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And they have like there's a strip club down on Fells Point actually called the Ritz, and there's also like it's like a college-y kind of place.
That's
also,
the vibe. I've never been there, but what I've seen it on the news and stuff, it always looks like it's some.
I got thrown out of bars down there.
Frat party kind of.
I was thrown out of 2 bars down there and the strip club.
Nice.
On 3 different occasions.
I was going to say, was that
not the same night? I wasn't just like
I've never been thrown out of 3 bars in one night.
Yeah, I wasn't just like out of sorts this one particular night. It was just a couple of different circumstances. she took a job there, and she said I was more scared of getting COVID there. People are shoulder to shoulder. The mayor and health commissioner have committed to reviewing the data in conjunction with our hospital partners over this 4-week period and making a determination whether it's appropriate to further ease restrictions, and they have throughout this pandemic. I'll say that, like, you know, I can't speak for all the strip clubs. I've been to a fair amount in the city, but I will say that, like, on the block specifically, it has a very long. There's a documentary of sorts on YouTube about it. Yeah, but it has a very long, sketchy history, and I will say this: if you go to the block, you will be at some point offered to buy the lady a drink, and there's a $20 drink, and there's a $50 drink,
sure,
and there's a $100 drink. And depending on the bar, to be fair, and the level of drink, sometimes the drinks are known to come with side perks.
Understand. Well, you did take me an Arkansanian and a Brit. Boy, what a fucking mouthful that was, and a carload.
Yeah. I have video of that.
In the car?
Yeah, and I like. There's one of my favorite parts of it is.
Did they charge you $20 for that bottle of water? Yeah, they did. 4 times, 4 bottles of water, Cody.
And I remember that, like, Matt said something in there. Deluxe said something like, "How's it going?" And the stripper just didn't break a beat, and she was just like, "How's it going?"
Yeah, right back to him. That was an interesting experience. It was just the right amount of time, too.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, I wasn't uncomfortable, but I got to thinking about, in a way, being responsible for a group of people.
Sure.
And keeping track of a lot of moving pieces that were going on outside of the clubs that particular night. So we experienced a few and kind of went on about our business. But, yeah, I love the block. I love Baltimore. I love the whole fucking town and all of its, intricacies.
A takeaway I have from that is that I watched the video clip. I watched one of the young ladies at the end was talking about how everybody's getting these stimulus checks. We didn't get no stimulus checks. That's because you ain't never paid taxes. Let's be honest. You got a stimulus check based on your tax filings.
I will tell you, we went down there one night, and it was for our anniversary, and as one does.
As one does.
And we went with Shoulders, Candy at the time, and buddies of mine, and so many great stories happened that night, but one of which was this one bar that we went into was dead. Mm-hmm. And like strip clubs have rules, right? So like you can't bring your phone out, you can't do there's like this shit to it. But like at the same time, it's like if this bar was dead and we came in there and livened this bar up, started throwing money around, started having a good time, and then before you knew it, the bar started coming to life. And then kind of the rules go out the window.
Sure.
Like phones were out for sure. I will say that I have a picture of my wife and two of the strippers that were there standing around me having a conversation about a part of my person that they brought out to talk about right then and
wow there. Okay.
And then also my other great memory of that night is my friend Candy, who passed away of a heart attack last couple of years. She pulled her truck up in front of, like, parked it right on, double parked it on Baltimore Street, and just opened up all the doors and turned her radio up all the way for this song and was like dancing in the street. And then like, people just started dancing in the street, like, like that place, that strip, that block, as it were, can really generate a good time if all of the pieces align. But if they don't align, it can really end up being a bad time for someone.
I can imagine it could be very messy.
Yeah. So anyway, I wish the working gals down there the best of luck. I sincerely do. Taco Tuesday. So I left this in there. Phil put it in the notes. Taco Bell's offering a crispy chicken sandwich taco.
I saw that.
I feel like we should probably do it.
We should. It's not nationwide yet. They tested it in 2 markets. So it's supposed to be nationwide, I think, later this month. But yeah, you have to remember that Taco Bell and KFC are the same company. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure it's
Pizza Hut as well.
Right. I'm sure it's a piece of KFC chicken in some sort of almost like a flatbread, like the chalupa wrapper with some spicy. So I'm down for it. Listen, I love Taco Bell.
Yeah,
I'm a fast food monster.
Yeah, well, we did the chicken sandwich.
We did the chicken sandwich.
So we feel like we have to do this.
Well, they have a Cajun fish sandwich over there at Popeyes now. That actually looks really good.
You know what's funny is, Phil brought those fucking Oreos here.
Sure.
And then like I would never, like, shit like that doesn't hit my radar. Like it just doesn't. Like,
you're not on the candy blogs.
No. But like, what's funny is then I saw Paul C posted a whole bunch, and then like Paul C had one that was like Java, and I was like, now because I got turned out by Phil's Oreos.
I got turned out by Phil's Oreos.
Now I'm like, oh man, I wonder what that one tastes
like.
That's
not the title of the show. I got turned out by Oreos.
But then I got to, being a little curious, so to speak, about the Java one.
Phil's our baby D. Remember baby D from next Friday?
Oh,
she know about all the snacks before they come out. They got this new Twinkie coming out. It's got glitter in the middle.
Yeah, that's how. Then I'm looking at them like, man, I would try that Oreo. I gotta keep an eye out. And then Phil talks about it like it's a collectible. Like, oh man, some of these are hard to find. Like,
yeah, they are.
Yeah, no, I believe it.
Well, he and I, we send each other like I found some soda that he couldn't find, and back and forth, because I don't work in the soda business.
No,
but I know a lot about it. Actually, I've done a Reddit page all about people like Mountain Dew has a ton of like different exclusives. They do like Speedway gas stations has an exclusive fountain drink, and people hunt them down. And I found it here, found it there, and it's just always interesting to. I guess if you're really into hunting sodas down.
Well, I told you like I got into those like Tostitos spicy queso Tostitos.
Yeah, and they're good.
And then they were like hard to find. Mm-hmm. So it turns out we like actually met somebody that works for Tostitos, and he was like, it was COVID exposures. So every time they had COVID exposures, they'd have to shut down part of the plant, and they would just focus all energy on like their staples. So like your general plain Tostito chips, the circles, the little flour cup ones, and whatever the case. And then like as the personnel would come back to work, and they would expand the factory back open again. But
to the outlying
correct
brands.
So like it would all boil down to Coke and Diet Coke, and then we had Sprite, and then we had whatever.
So my kids got real big into eating Takis for a while.
I don't know
it's a corn tortilla chip, but they're like rolled.
Okay.
They're like rolled up.
Okay.
And they're different. They have a spicy queso one. We haven't had them in a while. They seems like every time we were going to the store, we were getting some new flavor. There was one that was blue, made your tongue blue. It's all sorts of crazy shit, man.
Let's see what else we have. But yeah, I think we should do that. Okay, so more than meets the eyes. A new animated series announced for Nickelodeon for Transformers.
Yeah, I didn't read that article.
So the animated action comedy series, oh boy, will consist of 26 half-hour episodes following a new species of Transformers on a mission to find their place and purpose among Autobots, Decepticons, and the human family that adopts them. The series is being co-produced by Nickelodeon and E1 and will premiere exclusively on Nickelodeon in the U.S. before debuting in other countries. The creative team is built up with several animated TV show veterans, including Ant Ward, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Nicole Dubuc, Transformers Rescue Bots, who are both serving as executive producers. Production will be overseen by Nickelodeon's Conrad Montgomery and E1's Hauser. As soon as I read the creative concept, which is at its core is about family, I knew we absolutely had to tell this story with our good friends at E1 and Hasbro. The series will tell a reimagined story featuring both original characters and fan favorites for a whole new generation of kids and families. The creative team at Nick, overseen by Claudia Spinelli, SVP of Animation Development, can't wait to get started on building this brave new world.
Interesting.
This shit is gonna be dog shit. Like it's the next show for kids, in my opinion. Is what it sounds like to me, and that's important for their brand longevity. But
have you seen what they did with Thundercats? Like the newest cartoon that's out?
Yeah, that was like, it was like really like cutesy. Yeah, I never saw it, but I saw like
I watched a
art
couple
for it.
episodes of it. It's not for me, obviously,
Right.
but it's in a style that's very, I get all these shows mixed up, but Steven Universe and things like that. It's that kind of almost abstract.
Yeah, I would like to go back and watch the 2000s Thundercats series. Like I watched it once and I remember enjoying it, but I don't remember it as well as I remember the He-Man 2000s.
I've never watched either of those.
Well, the He-Man one is phenomenal.
I'm sure it was. I just couldn't imagine sitting down and watching all that.
Dude, because they like fleshed out everything and like they fleshed out all the characters, gave them all backstories like into this universe. And like one of the things that like I love that I always use as like a point of reference for people that have not seen it is actually, so I'll tell you, I have a New York Mike story in regards to it also. So he called me. He was at a convention, and he was like, look, I'm holding that series on DVD in my hand. You've talked about it a lot. Tell me why I should buy it. And I told him what I'm getting ready to tell you.
Okay.
But then he called me like a month later, and he was like, this is the most awesome shit I've ever seen. I don't know why no one talks about it. But Snake Mountain, right?
Yep.
Never really made a whole lot of sense to me. Like, why not Skull Mountain? Or why, you know what I mean? Like, so, and this is what I was telling him. I was like, this is the type of shit that this fucking shit does. So, like, the Snake Men were around, right?
Right.
So the Snake Men were like an ancient race, and it's actually their castle that fucking Skeletor has kind of taken over. And then he eventually, I think, if memory serves, and it's been a while, unlocks some shit in it that like brings the Snake Men back to life.
Gotcha.
And then like, but like just little shit like that, just like, okay, now this whole world makes so much more sense. They go into the origins of Skeletor, like he was a regular dude, and how he ended up with his face looking like that, and everything.
Once a man.
Yeah, exactly. But I can't recommend it enough.
Nice. I don't even know if it's available anywhere right now. Streaming.
That's a good point.
I'm sure somebody will tell me it is.
But Thundercats had one too, and I remember liking it, but I can't remember it the same way.
I remember seeing the toys like at Toys R Us.
Yeah,
That's really as far as I can go.
The He-Man ones too, I remember. First look at Jupiter. Jupiter's Legacy, which is a pretty good comic, is revealed some images. Looks just like it, to be fair.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
So Netflix releases the first look images for their upcoming comic book series, Jupiter Legacies, arriving as part of the comic legend. You never believe.
Oh, is this part of the Millar-verse?
Yeah. It will bring the series he created with Frank Quitely to life in epic fashion. Blah blah blah. It's a great book, and like I often compare it to like a lot of these books that came out kind of deconstructing the idea of Superman and so forth, like Invincible being one of them that I just read after I read stuff like Jupiter's Legacy. But it's good. It's good. And you know, I give him a lot of shit just because he's like, it's easy to, because he's just so talented. You know what I mean? It's like, look, you could be that talented, but you got to take these jokes.
Sure.
But I mean, the dude writes the fuck out of a comic book, and that one's no exception. So I'm guessing it's going to be great. All right, so Spider-Man. There's a couple of things to talk about here. So Spider-Man's next movie gets a title. Home Depot, I believe, is the name of it.
Yeah. At Home Goods.
Home Goods. That was it.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah, it's connected to a TJ Maxx, so you can get socks and some pottery.
In many ways, that is the multiverse of our world.
It is. It is the yeah. Well, you know, maybe the portal's there. Maybe that's why the tornado came to Mount Airy that time to shut down. The portal had to reform between Home Goods and TJ Maxx.
So I mean, I get it. Going with the home thing, I get it. It's fine. What I did find interesting.
Home Alone.
Yes. What I did,
Homeward Bound.
No Way Home, I believe, is actually what it's called.
Homeward Bound.
Homeward Bound.
Homeward Bound 2.
Oh God.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. Was there? God damn it! No, I'm gonna feel like I don't have one. Home on the Range. That's all I got. Yeah,
maybe. We're wandering off.
Yes. I will say this. What I find most interesting about this is the Hot Toys post. Did you see this?
I don't think I did.
So, Hot Toys made a post, and it was up for what I believe was 27 seconds El Total.
But it got screen capped, I'm imagining.
1,000% it got screen capped. And it has Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and Tom Holland.
I have to see this. I haven't seen it.
And it's got like I think it's their toys. Like it's not like their actors together,
right?
But it's like the toys together. So that to me is confirmation that we're getting the multiverse Spider-Man. Like in spite of we got all the rumors and speculation regarding it, and then we got kind of like Hollywood entertainment cleanup in aisle 7 that it's not happening, and that to me is confirmation that it is happening.
Right.
And that's pretty much all I got.
2021. Let me see here. Yeah, I don't see it anywhere. If anybody has that.
It was sent to me. I didn't save it though, I don't think. But I was sent it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, yeah, somebody screwed up there. I don't know, man. I'm down for whatever. I've enjoyed what they've done.
Yeah,
and I think sure, make this all multiverse. Same with supposedly what they're doing in this Flash movie with all the different bat people and Superman and things of that nature. I think it definitely opens everything up and it ties it together enough where it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm sure that the Doctor Strange will iron it out. I have no doubts about that.
I'm just waiting on a Dolph Lundgren, Thomas Jane, Barenthal Punisher of all ages.
Yeah. Do you think that they'll try to replace Black Panther that way?
I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do there.
So I will say that I think it's the most logical choice, but in the same breath, due to the cultural significance of that film, I can see them saying this kind of hallowed ground and wanting to not do that and move on perhaps with Shuri as a Black Panther.
Yeah, because, I looking at it from 10,000 feet, the thing to do there would just be, in this universe, Killmonger was the Black Panther and just have that actor, portray the role. But I don't know. I think you may be right that this move on with the cast that's there and just explain it away like they do.
Yeah, it'll be curious to see how they do it though, because to explain his absence is going to be a chore as well, even if they just move on with Shuri. You know what I mean?
It was a second snap.
Yeah,
the one nobody saw coming.
Well, when the Captain's shield got placed back at the, I'm like, click. Sorry, super problems. All right, so Ray Fisher came back out. He's still carrying on this thing with Warner Brothers. I haven't really been following this all that closely.
Has that dude ever done anything other than this role?
I don't know. It says actor Ray Fisher is back on the attack, accusing Warner Brothers via Twitter of trying to I don't know this word. It's make itself better by hiring black writer Ta-Nehisi, forgive me, Coates to write a new version of the Superman franchise with. Do you know who?
Michael.
No. As a director.
I don't. Oh, JJ. Mm-hmm. The world builder, Bobby. He builds worlds.
The implication by Fisher, who played Cyborg in the Justice League film, is that his complaints were ignored, and the new Coates alliance is a way to paper over Fisher's outrage. He said, "Do y'all remember the time that Walter Hamada and WB Pictures tried to destroy a black man's credibility and publicly delegitimized a very serious investigation with lies in the press? But hey, Black Superman." So I only really bring this up because I don't know enough about the situation with him and them. I know that he gets along with Zack Snyder, and to me, that's what matters to me.
Right. Because there was a lot. He was heavy reshoots in this.
Yeah, and he is
the linchpin of the whole story.
He's the linchpin to that story. Right? And I think that his backstory is one that's really kind of great and touching, and hasn't really been explored to the normie audience, and people would probably connect with. But I only bring it up to kind of introduce this idea of a rebooted Superman. With J.J. Abrams at the fucking helm, and Michael B. Jordan is heavily being rumored to be Superman. And I will say this. If J.J. Abrams, if all that ends up being, and I think J.J. has said it is, but if he sees this thing through to fruition, I'm probably just going to skip it.
So I'm confused about the direction they're taking this. Is this a... Dude,
I don't know.
I mean, the way the Joaquin Joker movie is different, maybe different universe. Is this I don't know. I don't know. Last thing we seemingly heard is Henry Cavill is on board to do more Superman stuff, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I will say that, Henry Cavill is one of those, for one, he's one of those perfect choices.
Oh, absolutely. Rewatching Man of Steel, it's like, Jesus Christ, this guy.
Yeah. And I think DC has made a few of those perfect choices along the way. I think Margot Robbie is a perfect choice. Mm-hmm. Watching, to be fair, I said this from the first time walking out of Justice League, that Ray Fisher was a great choice.
I think you're right.
He plays it so mechanical, which I've never really even thought about, because I've only really seen him in the Justice League and then the Booyah shit, and he always just a regular guy that's got computer shit on him, but playing it like you're really part machine, I thought was brilliant. Mm-hmm. I will not go down the sequel trilogy road with JJ with DC. I won't do it.
That's fair.
I won't do it. I won't do it unless after years in multiple films, people are like, this is what he should have been doing all along. He's great. Yeah. Then I'm like, okay, let's go back and start from the beginning and watch it. That motherfucker has hurt me. Show me on the trilogy where J.J. Abrams touched you.
Show me on the Raid doll where the Palpatine touched you.
Yeah, I'm salty. I'm salty about the way they handled Zack Snyder. I'm salty about Henry Cavill. I'm salty about all of it, and I don't know if I can even give a movie with Michael B. Jordan and J.J. Abrams a fair shake.
Yeah.
I'm just being self-aware here.
Do you think... Boy, this is... How do you feel about Michael B. Jordan seemingly being the black actor that's going to play the white role? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but he did it in superhero movies. He did it in the Torch, right?
Yeah.
In the movie nobody saw.
Yeah, except for me.
Well,
for better or worse.
And this... he's rumored for this.
Yes.
And it seems like his name has come up for something else before.
So I think that race is tricky, and I think that culture is tricky, and I think that sometimes. So here's the thing. I don't care about Johnny Storm necessarily after watching it. Mm-hmm. My general rule before Fantastic Four was just keep everybody the way they are. Just stay true to the material. And that goes across the board.
Right.
But here's the thing. I don't care so much about Johnny Storm being black or white as much as I care about Johnny Storm and Sue Storm being blood brother and sister.
Right.
If they're both black, fine. If they're both white, fine. If they're both Hispanic, fine. No issues. But what I found from walking out of that movie was what I care about with that quote-unquote family is that there are two people that are real family, and they have to juxtapose that real family with a different type of family, which is Reed and Sue,
right,
and then a different type of family, which is Ben. Mm-hmm. So it's all the definitions kind of family operating in one family. That's what I found mattered most to me about that.
Right.
Take the other one that I often bring up is making Terry Fitzgerald in Spawn a white guy. Because, and Todd McFarlane has said from the very beginning, he said there weren't enough white faces. That's what the studio told him.
Yeah.
To have a successful movie, there weren't enough white faces. And I think that's fucking bullshit. And I think that if you have a character like Al Simmons that was in the military in the 70s, theoretically, early 80s, and he meets this person that becomes like a lifelong friend, to me, having Terry Fitzgerald as a black man matters because the relationship and bond that they were kind of almost established right off step one is going to be different than if he was white. So the racial dynamics to me, and I can only speak for myself, matter to the components of the story, right? Now, when we get into Superman, he lands on a farm in the Midwest.
Right. So He lands on a farm in the Midwest. If that's how they play the story,
right.
let's just assume.
And it's not that black people can't have a farm in the Midwest.
It's not. You're right. But let's just assume the alien lands and he looks like an African American instead of
European American.
A European American. That adds another layer of conflict. If he lands in Middle America in farmland, I mean, I don't remember seeing many African American characters in any of the Smallville. Maybe the one or two.
Right.
I think it could be an interesting story.
Yeah, and I think that element of it could be interesting too. Of how did these, and I'm once again speculating, but and stereotyping. But how did these white Midwestern farmers end up with this black child? I think there's interesting stuff to dissect there, but I don't think JJ is the motherfucker that can do it. I don't think he has the ability to do it.
Well, here's the thing. Is JJ supposed to be writing this, or is he going to direct a story
he's going to direct it, and I don't know who this other person is. This is the person that Ray Fisher seems to have a beef with.
They hired. I don't know who it is.
Nahashi 6ix9ine, I believe.
Pretty sure that's not right.
But my thing is just I can't even begin to think about how I feel about Michael B. Jordan. So I have never seen Creed. I saw Black Panther.
You've seen The Wire.
I've seen The Wire.
Where's Wallace?
Yes, and I haven't really been impressed with. And I saw Fantastic Four, and I haven't been impressed with anything Michael B. Jordan has done. Now that doesn't mean that I won't enjoy the film. I'm not impressed with anything Momoa has done, but I enjoy Aquaman. I'm not impressed with anything that The Rock has done, but I'll probably enjoy Black Adam. I'm not really necessarily impressed with anything Tom Cruise has done, but I enjoy Interview with the Vampire.
It's fair.
So one thing isn't necessarily, indicative of the other. However, he's certainly not a selling point for me. But I can't even begin to wrap my head around how I feel about him playing Superman because I can't get past the idea of J.J. Abrams directing it. You know that famous meme of the Grim Reaper going down the doors and there's blood coming out of the doors? Mm-hmm. I saw one recently, Instasam, I think, put it up. It was like J.J. Abrams was the Grim Reaper, and it was Star Trek, Star Wars, and then he was knocking on DC's door. And I don't agree with that meme. It's funny, and I liked it. But I liked the stuff that he did for Star Trek. But I think it's probably because I have no attachment to that shit whatsoever.
There may be diehards out there that are rolling around because they hate it.
Right. Whereas Star Wars, I like what he did with Episode 7, and I'm okay with him building the world. Just once he's built it, get the fuck out of the way.
Right.
I hate what he did with Episode 9, and I fear for I don't think the boy's got enough grit in him to make a DC movie.
You may be right. Before we leave this topic, I wanted to mention to you or ask you this, and I don't know how old this is. I stumbled upon it for the first time this past week. Have you seen the footage of Nicolas Cage trying on the suits for Tim?
Oh yeah, there's a whole documentary about
that. Right. But this was just 6 minutes of him doing this. It's like he's doing jumping jacks and shit in this.
I still want to see that documentary. I think you had to buy it on DVD. I think you have to. It's like a crowdfunding thing almost.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting because he named his kids after Superman.
Yeah. He loved the character.
Yeah.
And Tim Burton is such a fucking lunatic.
Right. And he was probably hot off the Batman movies.
Yeah. And I'm sure he was thinking to himself, what do? I get Danny Elfman, Helena Bonham Carter. Can I get Johnny Depp in there anyway? It'll be about a weird loner that no one understands. It'll be completely different from anything else I've ever done. It'll be a weird loner no one understands. He's kind of introverted and sticks to himself, but he has a heart of gold. Dude, it's like
the Penguin.
And I love a lot of Tim Burton stuff, but he definitely prefers the formula. All right, and then last, our weird news for the week, cockfight casualty. There was a rooster kills a man at an illegal cockfight in India. According to the Associated Press, the rooster was with a 3-inch knife attached to its leg, panicked and cut a 45-year-old Thangula Satish, its owner, in the groin area during the fight near the village of Lathunur, Telangana state. Satish was cut by the rooster's knife in his groin and started bleeding heavily. Police Inspector B. Jeevan said Sunday the man died on his way to the hospital. So, I mean, it could have been his... there's a major artery that runs down there somewhere.
Wow. You ever been to a cockfight, Bobby?
Never once. You know what? I've never been to a dog fight, which I think would have been more likely for me to have bumped into in my travels.
Right.
But I'll tell you, I wouldn't have been able to handle it.
You know, I've never even heard of one going on where in my vicinity of either flavor. So
I talked to a guy one time. This is a weird story, but I talked to a guy one time that used to fight dogs, and he had a very interesting take on it.
I'm sure.
But he was like, so one of the things, like, once again, like, I'm fascinated by, like, culture and shit like that. So, like little terminology. Like, you and I could talk in a code. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I recommend this podcast to people I know, and they'll be like, they'll get through the nerd weeks and be like, shit was funny as fuck. And then I get into, like, the news, or sometimes during the nerd weeks, if you guys start getting into the weeds on something, and he's like, it's like you're speaking I don't understand a word they're saying. You know, well, you put the 3P universal on a regular ball peg, and what you're going to have is like, you know, it's like,
right.
But he would say roll the dog, I mean, like fighting the dog. Mm-hmm. So he would say, like, you put the dog in a ring, and if the dog didn't want to roll, then you would back the dog out, because there's like nobody would just let another dog just destroy a dog. Like, right. You know, no one was there for that. If there was no fight in the dog, then, you know, game over. The other thing he said is, like, you know, he said he had like 4 or 5 dogs at one time, and sometimes if he was going to a fight, he would take like 2 dogs that he was going to fight that day. And he said, you know, the other ones, the 3 other dogs, would be like, it would just like if you had 5 dogs, you had 5 golden retrievers, and you were going out to fish, and you only took 2, and the other 3 are crying and whimpering because they want to go, they want to fish. He's like, these dogs, they like to fight.
Their prides and their praise,
and like, and they. That when I wouldn't take them, they would be depressed and they would get anxious and they would start biting at the fucking cages and shit and fuck their gums up or whatever. Like, so it was just an interesting thing. Like, of course, I think fighting a dog is wrong. I have a soft spot for dogs. I'm the dog whisperer at work. Every now and then we encounter a dog on a mopping gig, and I gotta, you know, sometimes we gotta go through the back door of an entrance, and there's a dog that's around the back, and I'm usually sent to calm the dog down,
wrangle the dog.
Yep. I love dogs. I would never fight a dog. I don't condone fighting dogs, of course. But to hear a guy that was in it talk about it, I understood it in a way that wasn't, once again, it was in a gray area. Mm-hmm. He wasn't a monster. He wasn't a demon in the flesh. He was a dude, you know, and he made his money this way. And in his mind, he never did anything the dog didn't want to do. I would debate it, of course, but I'm
sure pimps say similar things.
Right. But it wasn't. You never had to tell the dog, get out there and do the, you know, the dog was bred to do it.
Have you ever been to, have I ever explained the chicken drop to you before?
No, I don't think so.
So imagine a cool autumn morning in downtown Scottsboro, Alabama. It's a Monday. It's the first Monday of the month, because that's what they do, first Mondays. Okay. It's like an outdoor flea market.
All right.
And they have chicken there. And let's just say they have a section of the ground marked off, and let's just say it's about the size of this table. 1, 2, 3.
About 4x4.
4x4. So there's 16 squares. So you put the chicken in there.
Is this the type of chicken that's got feathers on his feet? Because I don't fuck with them.
I don't know. I don't know if
they look wild.
If it has to be. I know what you're talking about. I don't know if it has to be a specific chicken, but there's 16 chances. So you're going to put money on this space, and I put money on that space. And you know, people bet up the whole thing. Wherever the chicken shits, you win.
And
it's called a chicken drop.
And possibly lose, depending if it shits on the money.
Well, you don't literally put the money there. But I'm saying, this is spot 1, 2, 3. You're betting on the spot. It's called a chicken drop.
That sounds like some
you could probably also
stuff, some more
probably also
stuff.
do that with toddlers. Or you know.
yeah, babies.
Yeah.
We do have a fair amount of questions this week.
Before we get into questions, I wanted to shout out Matt B, and he'll know which one. He sent me a link to a Chrome add-on I can use to block Pinterest from my searches.
Oh, no shit.
I haven't tried it yet, but I've got it. I've forgotten about it. I just thought about it. So thank you for sending me that.
That's awesome.
So I can look at pictures without Pinterest ruining my life.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? All right, so let's see. So this question was... I might have fucked up. Let me see here. All right, I might have to come back to that. Let's get to this. Okay, so Paul C said, though it's starting to look like Pietro's appearance in WandaVision may not be the link to bring the Fox X-Men into the MCU as we had expected, this still remains to be unseen, of course. We can still have some fun with this. Which parts of the Fox X-Men movie series do you want them to keep and bring over into the MCU? For the first time ever, we probably have the ability to pick and choose very specifically. With a multiverse scenario combined with the multiple reboots and recast, we can go with specific iterations of characters. Which Professor X do you want? Which Magneto should we keep? Which stories should remain canon and thus be required viewing for MCU completion? For once, we will need to take the good with the bad. For once, we won't need to take the good with the bad. What can we completely choose? What stays? That's a good question.
So, part of the story, I think, it being 2021 and all, Magneto would realistically not have been in a concentration camp at this point. Unless he's, right. His powers give him some sort of long life situation. So I think Ian McKellen, correct?
Yes.
Would be out of the picture.
Yeah, and I don't think he's in a health spot regardless.
Sure. I mean, I would imagine he's in his 80s.
Yeah. Cancer, I think. He has cancer,
I'm not even sure about that.
I think he does.
And Sir Patrick, I think is I don't know. I love him in that role, but I think McAvoy does a good job in that role as well.
Yeah, me too.
And I think his name escapes me at the moment. The person that plays Magneto, what's his name?
I don't know his name, but the new guy. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I like that guy. So I would take him as well. Here's the thing.
Fassbender?
Yes. Yeah. I would take him. I would take McAvoy. I would actually take the woman that played Storm. I liked her bit a lot until the story got away from him.
I definitely want Kelsey Grammer in full Beast makeup. Constantly.
Yeah, it's not bad either, to be honest.
I mean, I dug it.
Yeah, but I'll be honest. There's nothing. There's maybe with the exception of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that I love enough about any of those X-Men movies to say like my heart is broken if you don't take them.
Sure.
Like I'm okay with completely starting over.
And I think that may be the move. I mean, I enjoyed Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, but it's the only Wolverine I've ever seen on screen also. So it's kind of hard to say, that's the winner. And I think just making that be the alternate universe,
Yeah.
And listen, I think they could have some peek-ins to these other worlds from time to time.
Yeah.
Like what they're doing with WandaVision obviously is, I think, more of just a elbow to the ribs for us. Look, fuck y'all.
Yeah.
Than actually opening the forbidden door, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that there are things that I like about the old X-Men movies. Like I like the original Nightcrawler. Mm-hmm. I like Colossus both in Deadpool and in X2.
Yeah.
I like both Magnetos. I like both Professor X's. I know people don't like her, so once again, I'm not heartbroken to lose her.
Right.
But I actually liked the Game of Thrones chick as Jean Grey. It worked for me.
Yeah, I wasn't mad at that. I liked Famke Janssen in the role.
Yeah.
I liked Anna Paquin as Rogue.
So her, I could take her leave. She never seemed Southern enough.
She was never Southern at all. Yeah. I think they Midwest washed her, Bobby.
So I like.
I never liked what they did with Angel. Nope. Always thought that was garbage.
Yep, agreed.
I mean, Bishop was in one movie. I'm just looking at your X-Men.
Yeah, me too.
Bishop was kind of a throwaway background character in Days of Future Past. I know you don't care for what they did with Cable.
Yeah, well, I think it's fine, but it's not like I'm certainly not married to that pot.
I mean, let's be honest. The moneymaker's Wolverine, right? So whatever they do with that. And I don't think Hugh Jackman's up for the role anymore. I think the linchpin, and I've said that twice today, and I'm not sure that's a good word to use anymore. I think the cornerstone to this is who they cast for Wolverine.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Because, and if they keep they've committed, they're going to do Deadpool 3, and it's going to be R-rated. After that, if they use Ryan Reynolds in some sort of role with Deadpool in a Disney friendly-ish, and it could be, look at the camera. Well, you know what I want to say, right. But I can't say it.
Right.
And then have, a Wolverine and Deadpool comedy action movie, I think has legs. There's so much stuff, and there's so much stuff they haven't touched, here. Dazzler, for example.
Yeah.
There's just a million stories.
Like a proper singer supposed to do Dazzler?
Lady Gaga and her dogs.
No, but I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure they were going to cast someone as Dazzler, and it was like Britney Spears or like it was some singer. It's not Britney Spears, I don't think, but it was somebody.
But they didn't use. No, was she in a movie at some point as like a background?
I don't know.
Is Psylocke
sounds somewhat familiar? Psylocke, that Olivia Munn.
Olivia Munn
looked great.
Oh, she looks great, but they didn't flesh it out at all.
Yeah, and I'm not sure she can act.
She's done a couple things, but it's never anything. She's a super fan also, which was kind of heartbreaking that she got used in the way she does. She did because she loves all this shit.
Yeah, it's not personal with her.
It's not. No, it's not. I think that character has a lot of legs, so to speak. Yeah. Shout out to the '92 swimsuit edition.
Talk about it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. I'm just gonna say it. Mm-hmm. I don't want them to keep a fucking thing. I want a fresh start. That's fair.
Like I agree that there are some things that could work. There are some people that were cast well. There are others that were cast poorly. There are some people that were treated well. There were others that were treated poorly. My whole thing is just a fresh start.
How long do you think it is before they just say, you know what? Let's just start over. New Iron Man, new Captain America, new Thor.
I think
you think it's 10 years?
You'll have to see the movie start failing. Once the box office sales are start dwindling, then they'll say, all right, we're going to take a time off. Mm-hmm. We're going to reboot in 5 years.
Well, so right now we've got, what are we in phase 4 or 5?
I think 4. It's every Avengers movie, right? So like phase 1 is basically Avengers 1, phase 2 is Avengers 2, phase 3 is Infinity War and then Endgame.
Yeah.
So I think we're in phase 4. I think.
The thing is that the girl who's gotten her powers through WandaVision. Is it Quasar? It's not Quasar. What's her name?
Mm-hmm. I forget her name.
Photon. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry for whatever your name is. I'm sorry I'm forgetting. She's, I think, going to be part of whatever's next. I think Captain Marvel is going to continue. Yeah. I think they're going to continue.
Very cosmic.
The Guardian stuff.
Fantastic Four.
I think we're going to get into the Nova Corps and all that because of, they've been mentioned. Yeah. The Guardians is in space again, and Thor's involved in that. So I think we're going to get a lot more of a cosmic, off-world.
So what do you think that means for the big bad? Galactus?
I mean, who else is that? It's
maybe Annihilus
or
Annihilation. Or
what's his name? Well, if the Fantastic Four are involved, you think Doom would be involved in some capacity, which I'd be interested to see what a take on that would look like.
But Fantastic Four, it could be. It could be.
I mean, the Surfer could come in and be a big part
cosmic.
of it. That could be a way to tie. So
I'm gonna say Galactus then.
Okay.
I'm gonna lean into because Galactus is a big Fantastic Four villain also. Mm-hmm. We're going super cosmic,
right?
I'm gonna say Galactus.
And then, I think they're going to play that arc out, and maybe they'll start peppering in the X-Men stuff. Maybe they're going to explain where all these people have been all this time. Maybe it's just all of a sudden there's going to be, the mutant gene is discovered. Maybe the Snap created the mutant gene.
I always thought that would be a cool way to do it, is that the Snap inherited the...
Or maybe Wanda turned on... I mean, they've still got that card to play. Wanda turned on all the mutants.
Yeah, like, what if at the end of this next episode, she was like, I don't want to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that, and like they shot it the same way that the panel is shot, from the book, but it's instead of no more mutants, it's more mutants, please.
Yeah,
I think that'd be cool.
Yeah,
but I also think that, like, I'm getting the impression, like, it would be such a bummer if another 10 years before we even start thinking about mutants. That would be a real fucking bummer.
Yeah,
but I am getting the impression that even you talking about it is starting to make sense for me and click for me. That, like, it does make sense to just go more cosmic now, and if you want to do Doom or some shit on the next big bad after Galactus, then that's when you could bring in X-Men and have it make a little bit more sense.
So let's
Magneto could be a big bad.
He could be. He could definitely be. Let's plot this out though. So looking at the
Phoenix could be a big bad.
Phoenix could be a big bad for sure. Let's look at the Galactus, right? So Galactus is your end game of this arc, right? So who are his heralds that they could have as their semi big bads as they build up?
Oh, yeah.
The Surfer, the Dark Surfer.
Yeah.
And I'm just not super familiar with.
I don't know. I
who his acolytes are or whatever.
I don't know either, to be honest.
I'm a little lost on that side of it. So,
but there's also, there's plenty of cosmic villains. I'm trying to think of them off the top of my head, but like. There's that one gold dude who's got like the horns, almost like very Steppenwolf.
I know who you're talking about because the toy rotted on shelves.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden,
it's got like the Omega sign on his chest or some shit.
They might do something with him. I don't know.
Yeah,
he just made a resurgence in the comics, I think, recently too.
Oh.
I don't know.
It's a good question, Paul.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of went off the rails there, but hopefully shared some info, some insight.
Yeah. So this is from...
Oh, one more thing. I'd be interesting to see if they somehow tie Storm in to the Black Panther story now.
Yeah, that would be cool. Well, but she's gone.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Such a bummer.
Gone with the wind.
Rest in... Oh, too soon. But I think that... just rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. It's a shame. It's a real fucking shame.
It really is.
Good afternoon. So I've got to say that a few years ago, this is from Brian.
You going to read that whole thing?
I think so.
If you need a break, I can take it.
Thanks.
I'm pretty good at reading.
I'll say this. He wrote this email, and if he thought in a million years that I would respond to this in text, he's out of his mind. And that's no disrespect to you, Brian. Best.
So did he send this in as an NRR question? Or
no.
this is
I was like, look, I'll answer this tomorrow on NRR.
I got you.
So I don't even know if he listens to NRR, but he's going to start this week if he wants to answer this
Well, you
question.
could reply and just tell him that.
I did.
Okay, great.
But Brian, shout out to you. Thanks for writing. This is your first time listening to this, so you may not know how the way that we joke around here. Don't take it personal.
It's just nerd rage.
Yes. So he said, good afternoon. So I've got to say that a few years ago, as I was pursuing, I thought this was kind of funny, perusing through YouTube, watching Transformer videos, every once in a while, one of yours would pop up. I quickly clicked away. Not for me.
I wonder if it's when you were the little box.
Yeah.
The little box.
Yeah, maybe. But they kept popping up, and eventually I started watching a few, and I guess they were okay. See, the tricky thing is that if I like a figure, I want justification that my opinion is right. So I want you to praise it. If I don't like a figure, my personal ego wants you to trash it. I think this is a truism for most people. Luckily, since I am aware of it and you seem to give honest opinions, I think a respect was born. I also had 3 daughters at the time. Ooh, that doesn't sound great. Oh, maybe he's got more. He's probably had more, Chris.
Let's look at it that way.
Yes.
Half full, Bobby.
So I thought that was cool as well. But I was also at the time a hardcore Takara only guy, and I thought that 3P, while sometimes neat, was at best inferior and at worst slimy, dishonest theft of my beloved Transformers. Fair enough. Sometimes it is just that. But I have to say that every so often I was intrigued. The Carbots are my favorite masterpieces, and I love the idea that even though the original toy Stunticons were smaller, they should truthfully be of the same scale. So I was tempted when they were announced and breakdown scaled perfectly with Sideswipe and Sunstreaker. And it was actually your video about Crack Up that put me over the edge, and I bought them. It was just something about a lull in Takara, mixed with the price point, mixed with the intrigue, mixed with the backstory of the price being low because of the attempted knockoff. It all came together at the right time. And I have to say, I loved it. I got all. That's a fantastic piece, by the way. Like, that's one of Keith's best.
Would you say that's Keith's masterpiece?
I would say it is. I would say it is an example of something where it's all cracked up to be. You know what I mean?
Nice. At least
if I hadn't stumbled over my words there, it'd have been fucking better. Man. Anyway, I've got all 5 now, and I love that they exist. But also, all 5 of them are broken in some way or another. So that lessens the magic a bit. I confess that I'm a fiddler, and whenever I get a free couple minutes, I like to flip them back and forth. So some of that is my doing. Anyway, one of my favorite things about 3P now is just how different two things trying to do the same thing can be. Take Breakdown, where X-Transbots has the arms come out of the guts of the car, DX9 from the hood, Fans Toys from the back, or Drag Strip where the front, et cetera, et cetera. 3 quick questions. First, you mentioned in one of your videos something like, we found out the true size of the Stunticons is fan toy size. I generally agree with this. I was just wondering where the source of the justification was. General opinion, official size chart, more evidence one way or the other. It will always be contested in some way or another, even by just myself. I want Robot Breakdown to be the same size as Sideswipe. I also think Breakdown should be about Fans Toys height next to Megatron. So, scale is in the eye of the beholder. I'll say that because there's no way to really judge it. There have been people that have created non-official size charts. Shout out to Mike, that are based off of cartoon imagery that is the most consistent. They're also supposed to be the same size as the Stunticons, Combaticons. The bots are supposed to be the same size as the Devastator bots. And the Devastator bots we do have official scale for. So like that's how you can start piecing together scale if you want some sort of blueprint to try to have some Bible. Truth is, it's all over the fucking place because it was drawn by humans and humans are fallible.
And they didn't care.
Correct. So if it works for you, then it works for you, is the beauty of it.
Sure.
It's just that I kept saying that I thought they were scaled wrong. The Fans Toys and DX9 ones, and people kept writing like you're wrong, And then I looked into it, and I was like, okay, yeah, I see, you're right.
Right.
More often than not, they are that size, not the X-Transbot size. So I'm just leaning on the side of majority where the bots have been shown. Okay, secondly, actually more of an observation. I have to give credit to Fans Toys for making their best effort to actually mimic the back of the cartoon models as well. Smokey has a weird X-shaped spoiler, has his. Well, spoiler in the right place. It's not perfect, but I think it's an extra step that I think is super cool and wondering why you don't often point it out. To your credit, you kind of do point it out, at least in terms of cleanliness, with the versus Beachcomber. So the reason why is because, honestly, I don't care. I don't care. Like, I'm not the guy that's like looking for cartoon accuracy specifically for the back of the robot. I don't give a shit. That's why I don't point it out. And I don't mean that to be like like a flippant or anything. I'm just honestly, it is of no importance to me.
Right.
And I don't even know what they look like at the back of it in the cartoon because I'm not generally looking for things to look like the cartoon. I'm looking for things to look like they were inspired by the cartoon.
Right.
Third, do you have any knowledge about Robo Toy Base? I'm trying to pick up a few past figures, and they're the only ones that seem to have them, like Sheridan, Road King, and Barada. I think it's weird that it seems every other place is sold out, and are they reputable? I have heard of them. I haven't heard anything bad about them. However, I do operate under the golden rule of if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Let me give it a personal example of this. I just recently stumbled across a Bashoujo statue that's pretty much sold out everywhere. And it was being sold by a toy store, an online toy store called Badass Collectibles, which sounds sketchy as fuck. However, when I first started getting into like higher end collectibles, my wife bought a bunch of my Play Arts Kai from them. So they're proper. I've had a little bit of correspondence with them since. So I bought this thing that they had in stock. They sent me a invoice, like afterwards, like, thank you for your purchase. Here is your order number. Here is the Bishojo you bought. You should hear from us in 7 days with tracking, blah, 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 blah. Never heard anything else from them. 3 weeks. 3 weeks later, I wrote them. 2 weeks go by, nothing. I wrote them again. 2 weeks go by, nothing. Opened up a claim with PayPal. Just got my money back this past weekend for something I purchased back in January. So this was a Bishojo of Bride of Chucky. They had it for like $130 on their website. It's on eBay for about $300.
Wow.
It sounded too good to be true. Guess what?
It was.
It was.
So, I mean, I pulled this website up he was talking about. I'm not familiar with them. That doesn't mean anything. And honestly, I'm so out of the loop. I don't even know, like, this is for Fans Toys Goose, $189. Is that about retail?
That's high.
Okay. Well, it's out of print also.
Right.
$169 for the Magnum. Oh, $5.99 for that. Yeah, I mean, that thing's huge. And I don't know what shipping's like either. You may be paying another $100 to ship this stuff. I mean, look, here's the deal. If you've got if tying up your money for 6 weeks isn't going to put you in a pinch, pay with PayPal.
Yeah,
and you
throw
get
the
your
dice
money.
on it.
You get your money back. They do also have the Rouge chest upgrade kit. If that's what you're into.
Yes. So yeah, I would say that's the best advice. Throw the dice on it. Use PayPal. Use something that you can trust to get your money back. Pay goods and services, obviously. And if it doesn't come through, but the fact is, if they do have these things in stock, but they are being offered at a higher price, now it's no longer too good to be true.
Right.
Now it might be true.
It might be true.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's good. And by the way, thank you for writing in. Sorry I couldn't answer all that, but I just couldn't type all that shit out, especially about the scale stuff.
Sure. And welcome to the show.
And welcome to Nerd Rage. Hope it's not your last episode.
That's right.
So KFC wrote us again this week.
Nice.
Yep. And he said, "Hey guys, simple question this week. Do you think we would ever get a video form on the podcast, or maybe even clips? Keep up your work." So it's something we have talked about.
So the only problem is
the mask.
The mask. So I mean, it's funny because I knew that was in the hopper, and I was looking around here. We could shoot it basically from behind
the shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would like to do something for 300. That we have coming up.
Sparta?
Go
to Sparta?
Yes. That I think, what's a quick divergence. There's a Kanye lyric. It was like,
yeah.
It's like in every fucking movie trailer ever. Yeah. In that he says, 300 like the Romans. And I'm like, wrong.
Yeah.
It irritates me. It's like nails on a chalkboard every time.
That's like when Warren G says, what's next, what's NXET? Like, how many people
we're in the booth,
listen
like
to the end of
the
like,
engineer room?
Like, I don't know how to spell it either, dog.
Yeah. And it would be one thing if it was like, because like I think they're all like Crip affiliated. If it was like some weird play on trying to take a C out or something, like, but like
it's not.
But it's not. Or K. Sometimes they take the K out and replace it with a C, like to be like, guess who's back? BACC. But it's not that. It's clearly a typo in word form. Anyway, we did our Death Row show on Patreon for Bible Book About this month. It just published yesterday. Interesting. It was an interesting route of travel for me because I don't venture down that road.
Wow. Okay.
I'll email it to you.
You should.
So what else? There was another.
Well, he was asking about
KFC. So Keith. So
it's not a yes, but it's not a no.
Correct. I would like to. I just don't want to wear a mask for 2 to 3 hours.
Get Bobby off the show, and then we can do video.
Yeah, I like because the unfortunate thing is sometimes like. Some of the gags, like when I'm listening to back and going for like greatest hit stuff, I'm like, man, I know that moment is all about the facial expression,
right?
And we can't
like when Joe quits because my jokes are so bad.
Yes. Okay, so this is from Joe S. He said, for the NRR crew, sup fellow nerds, sorry I couldn't come up with a question from the other guy's question from the question inception style, so on and so forth. I ordered KFC. In many ways, you've already done the inception, sir.
There you have.
I ordered KFC's Dicka since who knows when or if we're getting a Fans Toys one anytime soon. It came in Saturday and I opened it Sunday. It came packed in tank mode, and I planned on going from tank to jet to robot. I was watching Bobby's video working to jet mode. Something hits me because something doesn't look right. Turns out the whole section his head is on is missing. 2 inches of nothing, so to speak, is staring at me. How does that happen? That leads me to my question. Man. What is the weirdest, oddest thing that has been missing or misassembled on a figure, statue, whatever, that makes you go, huh? What the fuck? How would that even make it through? Thanks for the podcast. Stay well.
They switched to menthols at the factory, and everybody was... That's what happened.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
I haven't had too many... So I'll tell you just recently looking at Joel W.'s Firmament, which is the dive bomb from that super stylized Predaking set.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a ratchet in his elbow. So, like, I'm reviewing it. I don't watch other people's reviews, right?
Right.
So I'm reviewing it, and I get to that part, and I'm like, this is going to be a problem.
Right. You just think it's floppy.
And then, like, I'm looking through the comments, of like the email comments, and it's like, mine has a ratchet, mine has a ratchet, mine has a ratchet, mine has a ratchet. And I'm like, oh, okay. So
you got a bad one. I can't. I'm sure I've had something that's happened, but nothing immediately comes to mind. That's just, I've had stuff like literally break out of the box.
Yeah,
but I haven't had anything that's like missing. Like
I just broke
missing a head.
Something recently out of the box. It was that Huntress Bishojo. I got a replacement. I almost didn't get a replacement just because I didn't pursue it because I did break it.
Yeah.
But like where the pole, so to speak, fits in her hand, it's too tight.
I remember you showing me that.
And
it was broken.
It snapped. And BBTS contacted me about something unrelated.
Hey, wow, I got you.
And I was like, hey, they were like, actually, do you have anything else? And they were contacting me because I think. So it's a weird thing. Not to get too much of a deep dive into it, but like my credit card style has changed where like now it has a chip, but like in like the numbers aren't on the front of the card anymore.
Yeah, they've changed a lot of that stuff around.
Oh, okay. So like apparently they really want it because I got the new card and I look at my old card. I'm like, oh, this expires next year. I'll just keep this one to next year. Well, apparently that's not okay. And at a certain point they just cancel your old card and it's up to you to activate the new card. Long story short, it brought me to BBTS giving me a phone call saying, hey, what's going on?
Right.
So I sorted all that out with them, and they're like, thank you, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you for your business. Yes. And they were like, is there anything else we can do for you? And I was like, funny you should ask. And I mentioned it, and they sent me a replacement. But I just broke that one recently. I'm trying to think about just critical QC stuff. I don't think I've had anything too nuts. Knock on wood. I mean, I think the most
missing paint apps. I mean, that's probably
yeah. I'll tell you the biggest surprise I ever received was I had a Marvel Legend. I feel like one time where the paint was entirely like off center. Like you could tell where the sculpt of the eyes was, but the eye paint was like sitting below it.
I've seen that several times.
Yeah, I had one of those once.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that one of the biggest surprises I ever had was getting that Play Arts Kai Superman Man of Steel out of the box and like just looking at it like, oh, this is not what the promotional pictures.
Yeah, that's always disappointing.
Yeah, but I think that's it. But that nothing that can top yours.
That's tragic. Hopefully your retailer helped you out on that.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you're the guy? It's like, hey, I need you to take apart one of these KFC tank things, or do they just send you I would imagine
Keith is having a ton of issues. Remind me to tell you something about Keith at the end of the show.
Okay.
Michael P. Tekashi 6ix9ine headphones. So this was interesting. It's not really a question, but it was interesting, so I wanted to include it. So shout out to Michael P. He said, hey, y'all. I'm listening to the show that dropped earlier this morning, and you were talking about the Tekashi doc. I thought I'd mention this in case you were interested, and it's probably in the documentary anyway, but it's not, by the way. Tekashi had this $5 million headphone deal with Tunes Audio that Tunes pulled out of in 2018 because of the shit he had going on. However, Tunes had already made a shitload of the headphones, and they decided to sell them basically for nothing to get out from under them. I found out right when it happened and bought a pair of the headphones, and they are amazing. At least, and he said, and then he had like some more information for us. But I just thought that was interesting about the headphones because I'd never heard of that.
I've never heard of Tunes Audio.
Yeah, but he said they're great. Like he actually said some more information and I just don't know if he wants that information out publicly. So I will share that with you after the show too. So this is from Nathan D. He said, "Hey dudes, I know y'all don't have much, if any, hands in the pot when it comes to chug stuff, but I've noticed a lot of people complaining about the new Studio Series 86 Hot Rod being too small. He is in scale with the rest of the line and is very well engineered, but people bring it up every time there's a conversation about the figure. However, they also seem to skim over the fact that the engineering on the figure wouldn't have been done the same had they chose to make him a deluxe. Saying all that to ask, does size really matter when it comes to figures for you? Like, if you get a figure that is super well engineered and if it's scale-wise with other Transformers but is more expensive than other things on the market or similar size, do you feel justified? I've been debating this for a while with other collectors, as I personally will always be willing to pay more for a better product rather than a bigger one. So I do agree with you there.
I definitely agree. So I have now owned, I don't know why, the quote unquote Studio Series, which to me means nothing anymore. Because so the Hot Rod, I think, is probably one of the best chugs I've ever dealt with.
Agreed.
The Blur is literally just a remold of something they've used before, and I think is trash. Mm-hmm. The cup is very disappointing, but it actually does the job. But at $10 more, it would have been great. I think it would if they had priced that $20 figure a $30 figure like Hot Rod.
Oh, okay.
I think it would have been a phenomenal figure. The Jazz that I just brought for you today, it's fine. It's a chug Jazz.
Now, is that priced at $30?
No, those are $20.
So the only one that's priced at $30 is Hot Rod.
It's Hot Rod, and he's the only one that doesn't come with the syrup cup.
And he's the one where he's where they should be operating at $30. I think why people are saying that figure should be bigger is purely based on the price. And I think that
they're looking at it wrong.
Yes. However, I think that the price should be lower for that figure. I don't think that. I think that. So the other chug shit, I think, is too much for $20.
Right.
And then chug shit used to be like a deluxe used to be like $14. And
Marvel Legends used to also be $14.
That's true too.
I think it's just moved their base price point.
Yes.
Well, not because they still make the little Micromaster shit, but
yes, no, 100%. I agree, but I feel like if you look at like where Black Series is operating and you look at where Legends are operating and all that, like to me, G.I. Joe Classified is another perfect example. And both with Classified and Transformers, you're not paying a license fee. I think that both of those lines should be operating where that Hot Rod is at $20. Like that seems all right to me. Like the Classified Destro, the Marvel Legends Black Widow, the Star Wars Nihilus, and the Hot Rod all seem like one company making a $20 thing across different franchises.
Right.
Whereas the Blur does seem less than, and I think so. I think the problem with the Hot Rod is the price for that product, and he was saying that the $20 standard is a lower standard, but I would say that that's the problem.
Right. Notwithstanding to what you said, and I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
If they had made the cup a $30 figure and used the same care that they did on because it appears to be a brand new mold. I may be wrong. The same amount of care that they did on the Hot Rod, I would have very happily. I don't collect the line to speak of. I'm just checking this stuff out because it's literally the pocket of the Transformers fandom that I enjoy is the movie.
Yeah, so I could take that, but I could take that. And I agree with you there, too. But I could take that and extrapolate it and say I'd probably, don't tell anybody, but I'd probably spend $30 for some of these Legends. Marvel Legends, yeah, and Black Series. And,
what if you could get
hands where they're not doing this all the time?
Right. So your guy with two swords comes with trigger fingers, right? So hands and what if there's a $20 Red Guardian figure, since they just are releasing a 2-pack of a movie that's still going to come out.
Right.
But for $30, you get a Red Guardian with a toe pivot and a couple extra hands and shit.
Yeah, gladly sign me up for that. I pay for that in a minute.
But then again, you look at Hot Rod. If you take away all the shit he comes with, that's the saw blade and the effects and the Matrix. Just him with the two guns, is that a $20 figure? Because I don't need all that shit.
Right, to me it is, but I don't think that's what you're paying for either. I think I think the parts count is higher, and
I think they wanted to make it seem more valuable, and they was like, we have this shit laying around, just pop a mold.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question, though. But that is, I think the way people feel about that figure is complicated to explain. I did the Patreon Zoom meeting, and like that topic came up. and it was very hard,
so to speak,
to say. It's very hard to say what I want to say now, to be fair, but it was very hard to express my thoughts on it. I think it is a good figure. I think it is of the same quality of their other lines, which I don't feel like Transformers usually is. I think it's the baseline of where they should be operating. Therefore, I think it is $10 too expensive. Yeah. That's, and subsequently, their other shit is now, even if it's $20, is $5 too expensive. You know what I mean?
Quite possibly. And I think that Grimlock that comes with the non-movable wheelie to speak of I think it's either $45 or $50.
Really?
I think it's somewhere. It's in between 40 and 50. Yeah, it's big. I mean, it's a big unit.
Okay, and I'm looking forward to digging in, so to speak, to the big unit. Joe S. Shout out to Joe. He said, "Hey gents, quick question. This just came in. As a grown man, what's worse to get into, a fist fight or a tickle fight? Keep up the great works."
It depends on who's tickling.
Yeah,
there's a lot of variables there. And it depends on who's punching also.
Yeah.
Well, if a guy walks up to you in a bar and is like, "Hey, fist fight or tickle fight?"
I'm going with the fist fight.
I'm probably going to just start punching this dude.
Yeah,
for asking.
Yeah, I would say both are pretty bad to get into this, unless it's with the lady. You get a little tickle fight with.
There you go. If it's with a grown ass man,
or someone that you're attracted to, I should say.
Sure.
I'm getting back to that brave new world.
But if it's one of your children, I'd probably suggest tickle fight.
Yes. I just come out like, what happened? I'm like, I fucked my kids up, dude. They can't fight for shit.
They can't. They don't get their hands up at all.
Now clean yourself up.
Dinner's in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Don't tell your mom.
And that's it. Oh, the one thing about Keith I was going to bring up. So I had a brief correspondence with Keith proper.
Nice.
And I don't know where it's going to go. I will be 100% transparent about it, as I have been in the past with such things. But I will tell you what my intentions are. And I'll tell the world, what my intentions are. My intentions are to help give feedback as to where he should be focusing his efforts, both in terms of quality and in terms of choices of pieces. And simultaneously, if it does evolve into something, let me be 100% clear. I don't need shit early. I don't need the pre-production. I don't give a shit about any of that. If he wants to go that route with me, I will do it. I have some stipulations for it.
On that note, that seems to have dried up across the board.
Agreed.
That used to be
a thing.
Pain tolerances may vary.
Yes.
I can, and I'm glad you agreed, because I don't know. I don't watch POW or any of those guys anymore.
You don't see too much of the pre-production stuff. Every now and there are a few players that still definitely are in, but it's more so with distributors, less so with the companies. Right. And but so this is my thing. If he does I one of the things for me is that I will need a exact video probably or picture photograph instruction manual, because I want to make sure that I have it 100% right to give you the proper feedback.
Or at least a video of somebody doing it. So
yes. And then I will just say I'll give recommendations.
So he reached out to you.
Yes.
Through an intermediary, or just emailed you?
Initially through an intermediary.
Yes,
and now a
consigliere of sorts.
Yes.
A Silvio Dante of sorts.
Yes, of sorts. And whoever played it, who was the Godfather guy? That was the Irish guy. That was the adopted son. That was basically the consigliere. It's a big actor.
I see his face right now.
Yeah, so do I. I want to say Dustin Hoffman. But it's not
Dustin Hoffman.
Doesn't matter. But yeah, so we'll see where it goes. It may go nowhere. It may go somewhere. My goal with it is they have found themselves in a specific predicament, I feel like, these days, with quality control issues, price control issues, and selection. And if I could help guide any of that.
Keith, if you're listening, he wants the rest of these headmasters. Yeah. I'm just letting you know that's where this is going to go.
I'm pretty much up for any headmaster out there. All right. And I think that's all I got. Do you have anything else?
I don't think I do, Bobby.
Shout out to the Cool Table. If you listen to this and you have a podcast, you're on it as far as I'm concerned. And shout out to the rest of the Nerd Rage team. Unfortunately, Joe, who couldn't make it here today with empty headphones. It's kind of sad.
It is. It is. You should take a picture.
Yeah, I'm going to take a picture of it. It's very sad. But shout out to Joe. I'm sorry that he had to work today. And shout out to Maryland Phil helping us with our notes. And on Twitter, Dante the Destroyer helping us with Facebook and guest appearances here and there.
That's right.
And
I'm going to be appearing off the mats. Off the mats. We're going to have a wrestling conversation. That should be interesting. Yeah, so we're recording, I think, next weekend. That's a team.
Actually, on next week's Verbally Challenged, I believe.
I like Jose. I like Jose as an interviewer. I think he does a really good job.
He makes you feel very comfortable. And
you already recorded?
Yes, and start talking about shit. I'm like, I'm not sure if I should have said that, but
it's okay.
We'll see. And shout out to Raul with Instagram. Shout out to Gort and Annie helped me with the Force stuff. Although I haven't been doing Force Friday, I'll do it if something comes up that needs to be talked about. And Esteban on the IG for Force Sensitive, of course. And I think that's it. Yes. With that,
Tasty Taint.
Tight Deck Player.